Yeah. 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 Looking good. Looking good.
Okay.
Amazing. All right. Ladies and
Wonderful.
gentlemen, finally here I am. I'm Miniman. Welcome to the Miniman Show. Only for people who want to grow, only for people who want to know, and only for people who want to glow. Schling! Today is the most amazing guest on my show. It's the first time I'm having a guest, and it couldn't be more special to have the most special guest on the planet. Aurora, the flying rainbow lasagna. Welcome, Aurora.
I'm so honored by your introduction. Thank you so much for having me. This is wonderful. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to talk about who she is, what her message is, what she's got to teach. But before we do that, let's give everybody a chance to figure out how to find you. And that's flyingrainbowlasagne.com, right?
Very close. Flyingrainbowlasagne.com. And as if that isn't even hard enough and long enough, I also spell lasagna with an E on the end as opposed to an A on the end. So LASAGNE.com. But I tell you, if you just do an internet search with the three keywords, flying, rainbow, and lasagna, I will come up. I'm the only one on the internet. I'm the only flying rainbow lasagna on the internet. So you will find me. And yeah, it will bring you directly to my website. And on there, I have all of my things that connect to like my YouTube videos, my classes, my Facebook, my Twitter. And I invite people to befriend me. I'm very accessible. You can ask me questions and have discussions with me directly. You know, I'm here for that purpose.
Exactly. And I'm so nervous that I'm even forgetting your name. This is starting great.
Oh my God. I love you. You're fantastic. There's no need to be nervous at all.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, watch me tumble down the stairs. This is going to be amazing.
If that ever happens to you at an occasion, you just play it off legit. You know, you just kind of brush yourself off like that was just part of everything.
This was all intended. Okay. But since you're not a salesperson, would you like me to sell it a little bit so people understand what it is?
That would be really wonderful. And it's true. Like I'm usually don't have a hard sales approach. I'm usually more of an casual invitation. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm a cultural outsider. I think you can put it into words for me in a really great way.
Well, I don't like selling either. We're both artists. I guess it comes with the territory. But if you took that red pill from Morpheus and you really, you're going down that rabbit hole, you're staying in Wonderland, you're not, going back to Kansas, and you really see what's going on. There's so much terribly going wrong, and you just don't understand why other people are just not seeing it. And you figure out why am I'm the only one who's took that red pill, and why so many people still on the blue pill. And like with the Indigo configuration, the Indigo child configuration, I want to talk about it in a minute. It's really hard. You want to bring that change to the world. You want to wake people up, and it's just so hard and not really happening. And if you struggle with that, like you just want to get the fuck out of here, then Flying Rainbow Lasagne is your solution. And with just $25, that's nothing a month, on Patreon, you can build your own little spaceship to get the F out of here. And any other spaceship comes at a much, 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 much higher price ticket. It's going to be like millions and billions, and you're never going to afford it. And it's still not able to do what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is doing. Is that about right?
That's right. So beautifully put. And yes, it doesn't require money, like finances, metallic objects to build a starship like this. But it does have something else that is very dear or very valuable or very expensive. And that's your spirit, your divinity, your life force energy. Like you have to work hard. It's like running a marathon. It's not like some exoskeleton that just makes your limbs go. Like you have to believe in yourself. You have to have muscle power. You have to do all of this. So yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. And it's not something that's just easy or wave your magic wand. I love your description. I sometimes call it like Calgon, take me away. Like, like people are very, they're very suppressed and oppressed within our present society. And it's not just social structure and economic structure. Those are both outgrowths or reflections of distorted genetic structure and the things that are internal to the human body and also the human consciousness that has been severely limited. And all of this is intentional. It's not just by accident, like that game musical chairs. I don't know if you ever played that game musical chairs in school, like kindergarten. And there's always not enough chairs for the number of players playing. If you have 10 children, there's 9 chairs. Someone will always go home crying. They do that on purpose. So I'm trying to say the way that things are set up in our world, if it is challenging to, earn your living, live comfortably, live with integrity, take time to meditate, eat food that's not poisonous and that's good for your body. Like all of those things are intentionally difficult to do. And that's part of the self-cultivation. And then this is like the next tier, the next level of self-cultivation. So I call it becoming a genetic virtuoso. It involves having a deeper understanding of what our DNA is actually doing. It is not just what many people are taught in science class, which is that your DNA is just like a blueprint for your body, for the shape of your face, or what color are your eyes, or how tall you are, or some like basic physical characteristic that's very visible. Your DNA is also your connection to time. And DNA is always moving and doing stuff. It's not just a static thing that sits there, which is how science investigates DNA. Science takes like a snapshot and then kind of looks at it and tries to analyze it without recognizing that it's a whole dance. And you're only seeing one moment of the dance because DNA has behavior where it splits itself apart, weaves itself into these amazing knots and twists, and then puts itself back together again. And so the big takeaway here, like the big emphasis in my class is self-empowerment, and also that what you are doing, you're doing already naturally. Like you're already doing this genetic dance, this oscillation, this subcellular movement, and it's a question of cultivating it like a virtuoso. So imagine like, little kids like make noise all the time, like blah, blah, bleep, blah, bloop, bloop. It's not music. It's not like an opera singer. So to become a finely trained opera singer, we have to do the cultivation. That's like learning to cultivate our mind and our consciousness and the waveforms that we send out intentionally into the time field, so that we're not just like, tumbling through time, like tumbling through a waterfall with no control and just that, because that is the story that is taught to humanity. Humans are taught that you're just a physical body with some emotions in there and maybe a little bit of intellect, and that there's someone else outside of you, like maybe a bearded sky god. Like you have a good beard. You could be like the bearded sky god, and you could be out there telling everybody what to do, making their lives happen. And then if something goes wrong in your life, then we blame the guy with the beard, and it's nothing to do with you. But what I teach is much more about like you have a rapport, like musicians have a rapport, where one guy plays one thing and another guy plays another thing, and you fit together. We have a rapport with the time field, that what our bodies are doing on a genetic level with our little tiny strands of DNA, we're playing music, and we're in a whole field of musicians. That's the symphony of life, and it's what's going on this planet, and even further because it involves the stars, this entire much larger network of, I would call it a neurology. Just like we have neurons in our mind, the stars are like the neurons of a great brain. So our DNA dance connects with all of the life on our planet and much further, and I'll even blow your mind further, across time. So this becomes a very, very complex musical composition where we are musicians playing with many other musicians. And I think we will all agree that life on Earth right now, there's a lot of horrible music that's being played. There's music that is like the music of cancer, music of death, music of degradation, music of economic iniquity, where some people are profoundly impoverished and do not even have running water, and some people have so much that they live in literally gold-plated mansions, on a hill, whatever, in Hollywood. So all of that is the bad music that's being played. Our original genetic form was not intended to have experience like decrepitude as we move through time. That's not what we're supposed to do. Like we get implanted with this idea mostly when we're little children that like as you move through time, as you grow older, that you will grow less strong. And that's not what we're supposed to do. As we move through time, we're supposed to grow more strong and more vital. Like imagine a little sapling grows into a mighty oak tree, and every year grows more strength, more, cellulose, more structure inside of it. That's what we're supposed to do. So there's this very insidious, malevolent, like not intentional of the original creator program that tells us you will grow older and more decrepit through time, and eventually you're going to hit the membrane of death and die. So when I say hit the membrane of death, I use these little sculptures, and also I have like a whole little slideshow set up. I know we're doing the video recording. I'm not sure if some people are just going to access the audio, so I'll do a little description too of if I'm like showing something. But I have this little yellow sculpture that I use all the time in order to be able to show as a diagram, like these are the chakras of our body, and this is also what the time structure of our body is like. And these edges here, these are membranes that have energy that flows, so it's kind of like a flowing waterfall, and I call that the flowing membrane of death. And that there are some timelines that are going around this structure in figure eights, and they terminate on that membrane of death. They don't keep going. And those are not timelines that are optimal timelines because they end. And the intention was that we were never supposed to have to explore those timelines. Like if you have a map of time, then you don't have to go down all of the dead ends. You know exactly which timelines to go down that continue in life. So this dress that I'm wearing and my paintings that I'll show you, and paintings that you see behind me on the wall, they're all my originals. I don't do computer generated stuff, and they're maps of time. So that's what I teach in my class. This is why I'm giving you this I'm flapping my moving mouth parts. I'm giving you lots and lots of words on this, because I teach about the structure of time so that you as an individual can understand your relationship to time and how you can be more of a virtuoso, like not just have things happen to you, but actually, let's say, be the script writer. Like you're not just the actor, you're also writing the script, and you're also, let's say, the costume designer, deciding what you're going to wear, and the scene maker, you're making the scenery too, and you're the cinematic composer making the music happen. Like you begin to become much more about having a creative impact on reality. And that, now I'm holding up my Flying Rainbow Lasagna sculpture. So people always ask me, why lasagna? Because the edge has a curly edge, kind of like a curly lasagna noodle. And this shape is the higher dimensional shape of the torus, that is our time body or chakras. And we can transform into this higher dimensional shape. And when you do, your inner world, and now I'm touching the inner surface of my sculpture, becomes your outer world. They become communicative. And then it goes back to your inner world. Similar in concept to a Mobius strip. This idea that you can dance or oscillate your DNA in this new higher dimensional shape and format. And by doing so, your inner world of your thoughts and your dreams and your emotions and your imagination is real. Like this, when we were little children, mostly our parents or some teacher told us, like, imagination is not real. Like they teach you that, and it's part of the program that is the disempowerment program. Imagination is very real, and it is the projector that we use to create reality. Like in terms of quantum observership, we are collapsing the fifth dimension, potential waves of higher dimensional reality into the experience of the physicality that we're in. And that is our observership. Like, so it's our imagination that is projecting reality. Oh, you got to break in. I know.
Yeah,
I'll keep going. We don't stop.
It's great. Can you expand a little bit more about how this free will really works? Because I was struggling with this for a very, very long time, for years, actually, in fact, and it's so difficult to figure out. I studied philosophy and I couldn't figure it out, and nobody really explained to me how it works. And even the spiritual people, there are plenty of people out there like Eckhart Tolle who explain this very well. There is basically no you, there's just awareness and yada, 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 the whole script. But then it really comes to the question, well, then who is making these choices? Where are these choices coming from if there's not a me? And if I have free will, like the science says, okay, there's like this chain reaction and it started like a big bang. Like, oh, that's really convincing. That's like, oh, we don't know how it started. Let's just say there was a big bang. Sure, right. I'm gonna buy that crap. Like, no way that's how it happened. And then you have this chain reaction. It's just like ding, 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 ding. And so there is no free will. Basically, that's like logically exactly right. And there could not even be the free will to awaken, because like even that, the shift in consciousness, that would be a chain reaction too. So it would have come from somewhere, and it's just like this God makes boom, and there's just all this stuff happening. It's just a giant divine plan, and I'm just one of this. I'm just awareness, and I watch this movie and be in Zen and just accept everything. And Jesus say, "Oh, I have to suffer, and then it's gonna turn out great," and all this. I mean, this is just a really big bullshit story. And how does this really work with the free will? Because if I have free will, then I can just, change the divine plan any fucking time and mess up God's plan and create my own reality. So how does this work?
Such a beautiful question. And also, so I love your phraseology. And so I would say two of the points you brought up. One is the mechanistic model of the universe, which is what science and the objective materialist viewpoint teaches to us. Big Bang just started this big chain reaction, and we're just the latest generation of the dominoes that keep on falling over. And that relates very much with the Judeo-Christian externalized God that says God created, and now you're just the experiencer. And if you don't like it, take it up with the man upstairs with the beard. And so how that relates to my understanding of the cosmos, because all of my understanding comes from, I say, using my inner telescope, like my higher faculties. I look at all of this with my inner vision, and then I draw pictures of what is happening. So these shapes that are our chakras or energy centers, and I'm holding up this torus shape again, these are bundles of possibilities and probabilities. So you could also think of this as being like an old-fashioned analog record, where if I tilt this up, you can see this is round on the edges, kind of like like the type of record you play Led Zeppelin on, okay? A record with grooves. Exactly. And then you have, so all of the songs on the record would be considered potential lives, like potential versions of your life with, slight variations from timeline to timeline. So you have many different versions of the same song. Like on one morning you wake up and you have coffee. On one morning you wake up and you have tea. But on some mornings you wake up and you die. So those are like the songs that you don't want to have to play. And so the mechanistic model says basically you have to go through every single possibility with the needle of awareness is like your consciousness that plays on the record of your life. So the old-fashioned way of doing this is have to look through every single wrong possibility, walk down every single possible wrong dead end before you finally spiral inward towards that last song on the record. That's the best song. That is the song of immortality. And immortality, I'm not referring to any biblical literalism or, a Christian rapture. I'm not coming from the standpoint of Earth's religions at all. I'm coming from the standpoint more of continuity of consciousness. So that would be similar to a person who has a lucid dream where you're awake, then you're asleep, then you're awake, and you have continuity of consciousness even through changes of state. Or some of the lamas of the Far East, like the meditators of, the Buddhist tradition, where they have continuity of consciousness between lifetimes. And they can remember back and they can say, I know I was this person, I was this person, I was this person. And there's almost a good record of observation. I wanted to say almost a scientific observation. Like their culture has done very well in noting the journey of souls from lifetime to lifetime and being able to see like a journey, like traveling back through a lucid dream to remember all these different lifetimes. So being on that final song of your life where you don't have to die does not necessarily mean you stay as the same being. You might transform, you might metamorphosize like caterpillar into butterfly. You become a higher dimensional being. So you might not always wear the same face that you've got on right now, have the same hairstyle, but crucial aspects of yourself remain the same. Those are like the eternal aspects of yourself. And I would even say that that's what this journey of life is all about. It is a refinery of consciousness where we are moving from the general to the specific. Like I'm making now this little whirling kind of vortex motion with my finger that we're going from the fat end, all the focusing up to the skinny end. And that's very similar to like using a lens. Like if you've ever used a telescope or binoculars, you have to kind of twist these lenses as you're focusing light waves. So what we're doing is we're using the chakras or energy centers on our body, which are lenses of time, to focus our consciousness onto the optimum timeline where you don't have to die. And this is what MINIMAN was saying about getting out of the matrix. Part of the matrix is death programming. Like even the idea of suffering Christ, the suffering Christ that's necessary to suffer and then to die in order to reach some exalted state. There's a lot of stuff in that in many different religious traditions, and even the sense that you have to die in order to go to heaven. And all of this Flying Rainbow Lasagne concept, it allows you to skip over that, like jump over the membrane of death instead of experiencing those deaths. And part of this is also being able to, I call it, read the musical score of the cosmos. So I teach a lot of what I call music theory, because as a musician, you're not supposed to just like stab wildly at the piano. Like, is it this note? Is it this note? No. Is it this note? No. Is it this one? No. Like if you don't know, if you don't read music, you don't know what note you're supposed to play in your life behavior or in your mentality. If you cannot read the music of the cosmos, you don't know what to think. You don't know what is true. You don't know what to do with your behavior in each moment. And in this capitalistic society, like we're in this domesticated system where we don't get to just be free and do whatever the F we want, we got to earn money. That's being a domesticated human. Because most of us would be like on a desert island, like drinking from a coconut, like having a nice sun bath, instead of going to work every day if we didn't have to earn money. Like this is the idea of being a domesticated human. Like you're controlled by something larger, that this is the control system that so many people feel so frustrated with. Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick. So I'm still trying to figure out how this free will thing works. And if let me get this straight, like you're saying there are, we're living in a multiverse. They're like unlimited records, like records unlimited somehow in a shape, and we can they're all existing at the same time already, and we can jump from one record to the another. And
yes, that's a beautiful description. And I'll also say, not only can we jump from one song to the next, like you're like, I'm playing this song on my particular record and I don't like it. It's a crappy song. It involves disease and death, impending death. I want to jump to a better reality. You can do that. And you can also do like what hip hop artists are doing now, where they do a mashup. They have a little bit of this and then they take a little snippet of this. So it could be like, okay, I'm the Beastie Boys and I'm playing my hip hop music, but then I take a little snippet from Jimi Hendrix and put it in there, or a little snippet from Mozart and put it in there. So in terms of hopping around your own time structure of your life, like as you transform this shape into this shape, you're oscillating and you're rearranging events, you can take a little snippet out of this reality and then meld it with a little snippet out of this reality in order to create the optimum recipe or music for health and vitality and continued existence in your life.
Wait, so is one record one world, or one like a dream, and then we have parallel dreams that we can jump into? How is this physically like possible? Because I'm living here, I would love to jump into a different reality, but I wake up every morning in the same fucking body in Berlin. Not happening, buddy. You know, and I'm really, sometimes I'm so like depressed that I feel like, oh my God, like I'm go to sleep and, you know, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know how to handle this shit. So, and please, like, God, don't make me wake up in tomorrow. And then I wake up in like, oh God, not another day. You know?
Like Groundhog's Day, right? Like that movie, exactly. Over and over the same.
Exactly right.
The answer is to dance a new genetic dance, to jump timelines. What puts you on a timeline is the oscillation and the pattern of what your DNA is presently doing. So right now, wait, hold on a second. Let me just close this door. I'm so sorry that she's barking so
Don't
much.
worry.
Yeah, my little dog is barking way too much here. Right now, everybody's dancing and oscillating in patterns that mostly are inherited from your parents and from society and from religion. And those are these very structured, boring patterns that are all about being a domesticated human, earning money, going through life, aging, and then eventually dying. Like that's being like what they want you to be. In order to jump timelines into a more what would be considered miraculous reality, where things are possible that would not be possible before, what you need to do is dance your DNA in new dance patterns, and that is what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is. So I'm a galactic walk-in. I haven't introduced myself, so I'm not.
I know. I know. I did this intentionally.
Okay,
to not spook the people away, because you know people are like, they're putting people into boxes, and words are boxes. And if I just tell you, oh, I have the most amazing alien on my show, people will think, oh, I'm not listening to this shit. You know,
I totally get it. So full. You know, I'm not in the closet in any way, and have never been since I've been here. Even though I have tried to fit in for like various work situations or whatever. You know, the oscillation that I do, this Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I do this oscillation with this body, and that is what has allowed my consciousness, my galactic non-terrestrial consciousness, to be in this body. That it bends the rules of reality a little bit enough so that I can be here, and my whole job of being here is to share this information so that other humans can access this dimension and these areas of freedom and consciousness uplift. That's what this is all about, so that you don't have to feel so trapped. The songs that exist on the record of your life are only a starting point, because we also get to be jazz musicians. So this is really an answer to free will, because I know this is a deep philosophical and existential question for many people. It's not just that those songs are there like karaoke and then you only get to sing the exact words that someone else has written. You get to sing extemporaneously in the moment. I call this shape, this is like jazz. You get to play jazz. So the patterns that were given to you in terms of your genetic expression come from ancestry, come from society, come from religious programming and your education, but you can think a new thought. That's jazz. That's innovating. You're not just playing the patterns of the song that someone wrote hundreds or thousands of years ago. You come up with something new in the moment. That's Flying Rainbow Lasagna.
Let me jump in. I'm very, very critical, very, I don't want to be like disrespectful. This is all coming from love, but I have to be
Good.
razor sharp here. Okay. I'm doubting everything. I'm questioning everything. So when you say, oh, I can think a new thought, I don't even know where are thoughts really coming from. Who is creating these thoughts? So that's not really answering how I have free will. Let me ask you differently. Where are thoughts coming from? Or how would you define free will? And what's a proof that we have free will?
So there's two different levels of thinking. So if we're looking at the chakra system on the body, there's this level here, solar plexus, which is the yellow level. So the physical is red, orange is emotional, and yellow is intellectual, like the level of the human intellect. And that's mostly how humans define themselves, that is what it is to be human. But we have these higher faculties that are unconditional love, which is green, and all of these other apparatuses that kind of are like stacked on top of those. And this is your true mind, when you are thinking without words, without the encumbrance of words. And it's a much faster and much more, it's a level of direct insight. That's what I would define as your true mind. So I'm kind of compromising here. We're having a conversation and I have to use words because we're not in a telepathic society yet. If we just had a bounce back and forth telepathic society between you and me, they'd be like, these people are just sitting there. This is boring. We have to translate it into words so that everyone can actually hear the phonetic symbols and everything like that. So we're using this kind of clunky verbal structure. And it's a clunky operating system, the human intellect. It's intentionally degraded. But that's like an implanted level of thought. That's not our true mind. And our true mind is these, the higher faculties that I call pure insight. So it's nonverbal. It is not based in language. It is based in symbolic understanding and symbol structure. But that symbol structure can be something like an abstract pattern or music, or it can be the song of a bird or the way that grass grows. Like you see symbols in the landscape and you understand that it is talking to you. And that's our true level of language.
So the problem basically is I can really not figure out who I am because I'm using language and thinking that is based on language. So I can't figure out like higher versions or more developed versions of who I really am because I don't have any medium to access it. And I'm constantly on this language thinking fucking level and I'm never going beyond because I'm trying to figure out on this level who I am. And it's not possible.
Totally. It is not a job for the intellect. What we're doing right now in terms of navigating this world of malleable time is not a job for the intellect. So let's say the intellect is what we use if we can't perceive, if we're blind, right? So I use this example. You're looking at me right here in my studio. Sometimes I'm cleaned up for today. There's not that much. I think there's a couple of dog toys or whatever. But sometimes I've got like a sweater, like my coffee cup, like there's all sorts of stuff on the floor. And if you couldn't see and you came to my door and you wanted to come and navigate across and not step on things, and you just tried to use your intellect, it would be very challenging because you'd think, well, there's a 45% probability that Aurora put her coffee cup here and that her sweater is over here. Like you'd use all of these complex mental machinations to try to figure out where to place your feet. But all of that gets cut through very easily if you can just open your eyes and see. You can see where the coffee cup is and see where the sweater is and see where the dirty socks are and then not step on them. So when humans are trying to navigate the time field but don't have their higher faculties online, it's like you can't see. You're supposed to be able to see the future. So you're not supposed to be navigating using the intellect to say, I think it's right for me to go in this direction, or I think that this is something truthful. You can actually perceive it and see it. So I tell everyone, get out of your implanted mind and into your true mind. For me, activities that bring me to my true mind are painting, because I don't have to think, like, pick up the paintbrush, dip it in red paint. Like, I just do it. I get in my flow state. So for whatever puts you in your flow state, I would encourage you to do it. If it's playing music, or for some people it's athleticism, like doing cardio or playing certain games, or whatever it is that makes you turn off the verbal mind and get into that state of direct connection to your body.
Okay, so basically books and all this education is not really giving me a chance to even develop who I really am, because I'm just like driving blind and hoping I'm gonna get to my destination, right? So how, like, how can I see, and is this always connected to like you like an action, like because you made like painting and stuff? But I mean I can paint, but there's plenty of mind activity going on. So
Right.
How do I see? How do I check out of this?
Right on. In order to, I call it, use your higher faculties, which is like a combination telescope and microscope. So imagine that you have like this big giant, like a giant telescope that you can use to look at anything in any time that you would ever want to learn about. And you can also use it like a microscope if you want to look at your own body or look at a little tiny cell. The issue is, though, it's expensive to book time on the telescope. Just like one of these huge scientific arrays that they use to observe the cosmos, if you want to look at something in the night sky, so does everybody else. So you have to book time, or you have to spend money to do it. So if you want to use your inner telescope, you have to have the energy of the heart, the energy that is this unconditional love energy. Unconditional love is actually a tone. It's an actual tone that you make when you get your energy metabolism going at a certain rate. So mostly in our world, everybody's at the survival level. They're not at the love level. They're just kind of like lurching from moment to moment, trying to like evade being eaten and get the food that they need. So it's like being a prey, like in
Survival.
our world, completely at the survival level. And that's not this level of love, which is in some like philosophical traditions, it's the pinnacle of what you can be. Because look, you grow upward from merely being an intellect into then having a heart, but it's not the pinnacle. That's like base camp. If you're climbing one of these, enormous snow-covered mountains, you get to base camp, but then you still have to go even further to get to the summit. But establishing that tone of unconditional love is essential, because that's like the fuel that you use to be able to power your inner vision. And that's, you could think of it like money in your energetic savings account. So every time that you can maintain inner silence, that you can be mindful, that you can be not chatting in your own mind with this nonsense language, but instead tuned into reality, feeling your senses, like feel your butt on the chair, feel your feet on the floor. When you're eating food, really tasting the food. When you're engaged in an activity, to really be present. Mostly people fuzz themselves out a little bit from being really present, especially in social interactions, because it's almost too intense. If you're really there, you're really feeling other people. You're really like that guy has toe fungus, that guy has kidney disease. Like you can feel these things about people when you're really present. So it's kind of like people fuzz themselves out a little bit. And there's pharmaceutical fuzz out too. So a lot of it is about just reconnecting to life force energy is the basic answer. We have all of this energy that is the love of the cosmos that is coming to us all the time. But mostly, like when you got like a little baby and you're trying to feed them and like, no, like I don't want, like, don't go in my mouth, don't go in my mouth. That's what happens when we're constantly thinking. It's like the food is coming at us, but we're moving our mouth so much that it doesn't actually go in. So the food is time. So in order to really ingest this time and have it come in and fuel us, we need to calm down the talking mind. So that's mindfulness and meditation. There's many different approaches. Then one of the other things I do is sun gazing. So I do sun gazing, which is like eating the sun directly. I'm pointing at my window now. It's a beautiful sunny day. So with my telescope of my higher faculties, I can reach out and touch on the sun, touch on the stars themselves, and get nutrition and light directly from that. I don't have to eat a salad that has the chloroplasts that got those photons from the sun and turned it into a starch. Like, believe me, I eat physical food too. I eat a lot of good physical food, but my body also requires, like my physical body needs physical food. My light body needs light food. So being like you get a savings account, when you stop frittering away your mental energy in errant thoughts, then you also get more income when you do sun gazing. And then the last part of it is like you have to kind of like learn how to focus your attention. And your attention, this is an actual tendril, like something that actually grows forth from your own mind, that it comes from Greek attenuos, meaning to reach out. So it's like an elephant's trunk or like a long appendage, and you can use it to reach out questingly to learn about whatever you want to learn about. And once you have that activated, like you can pretty much teach yourself anything, but it is not the type of learning that happens in a book. It's direct perception. So if you want to learn about a flower, you touch on a flower and you get to sense what its life is like, what its, metabolism is like. Like, it's not like learning like from a science textbook. So also you can learn about other people, but you don't do it in an invasive way, but you can touch on other people and you can learn about their truthfulness, their motives, their bodily health. And so all of these are divine gifts that we're supposed to use in a responsible way. We're not supposed to use them in a way that is like commodification. Like, that's one thing. Like, I know that in this society, it is normal for people to do prognostication of the future. Like seeing into a crystal ball or some kind of thing like that. And it's like for pay, that they say, you pay me this much and I look into your future. That's unethical on some levels, because what you're doing, you're supposed to look down your own timeline and look through your own windshield of your car so that you know where to go yourself. Mm-hmm. But I'm not supposed to look through your windshield and be telling you, like a backseat driver, like, drive over there, go over there. Like, that's not my job. So my class is all about teaching people how to awaken their higher faculties and be able to see the map of time, learn how to read a map. First, get your eyeballs open, then learn what are you seeing. So when you awaken your higher faculties, guess what you will see? You will see like what is printed on my shirt. I have a little slideshow. I can show you some of my artwork. If you're, if you're accessing the video, you can see some paintings that I have back here. You'll start to see these patterns. I didn't just make them up randomly. They're actual things that you can see. So I use them as diagrams in my class to kind of prepare people, like, this is what the music theory is. And then when you go to the symphony, you're like, I hear that pattern. I know what's going on. And then eventually, here's the free will part. You become such a good musician, you can write part of the score yourself. So you're like playing your beautiful genetic violin, and you're like, well, it tells me I'm supposed to play this note, but I know that I can also play this note, and it will sound great together. And you do that, and then something wonderful happens. So and that's like in the moment, with your behavior and your thoughts and your own personal artistry in whatever way you express that, which can be a sense of humor. It can be a sense of arranging objects in your home. It can be a sense of social dynamics, the way you talk to people. Like, artistry can be expressed in many different ways. That's how free will comes in. You don't just play the note that the great composer wrote for you in exactly the way it's dictated to you. You can put some of yourself into it, and you're supposed to. It's why we're here. But you're not supposed to just completely diverge from the score, and definitely not supposed to cover your ears. Horrible music. Horrible. That is not real music. That is just mashing the keyboard with my fist, which is what some, very poor musicians of the mind are doing in this time and place right now. So also, we have to recognize that we're in a symphony where there are some people who are playing genetic music that is horribly out of tune. And so if you're finding it difficult to play your beautiful genetic violin, it might be because you're surrounded by horrible musicians that are amplified, like electric guitars that are not in tune, that are amplified, and making it very difficult for you to hear this more delicate music that's going on. So yeah.
Let me pause real quick. So let me get this straight. Am I at the level where I'm now? Able to have free will, or am I just like a slave of my mind and of this conditioning, this society conditioning? Do I still have a chance now, or is it like I have to develop this heart level and then grow it up, and then I'm gonna be like really capable enough to have free will?
Yeah, I think that's an accurate assessment, that it's just like being a child and having not a lot of physical coordination, not a lot of muscular strength. It's not fair to say, can a child build a house or build a boat or something like that? The skeletal structure needs to grow and develop first. Same thing with all of us in terms of consciousness, imagination, use of willpower, and expression, like manifestation into reality. So like, as a nascent consciousness, like a little tiny, I'm a baby consciousness. I'm not condescending to anyone. Like, I'm here like anyone, learning how reality works. So as a little baby consciousness, I recognize that my muscles for emanating and manifesting needed to grow, and that I needed like to have opportunities to learn. Like, just as you go to school and you go to kindergarten, you have small manageable projects. So yeah, in terms of transforming my body and metamorphosizing, and also transforming my mind and my experience of time, I'm very loving with myself and loving with others. And I think that that's a gift that we're being given right now. It's not that we're like stuck here and it's punishment and we're in a prison, imprisoned in time. I don't think that at all. I think we're being given this moment right now in human history to be able to learn how to fly with these wings of pure consciousness. We're not just being pushed out of the nest, like, get out, figure it out on your own. Like, it's not like that. I think we have this time of transition from a world of pure objective materialism, where we only see matter as like stupid dead matter, into a world where we see matter as being alive and imbued with spirit and consciousness, and that responds to us as beings that are made out of consciousness. That would be like a world of imagination, a world of miracles that are not the limits of what we're coming from. So we're not at that place yet. You as an individual need to do the inner work. It's like saying, if you want to run a marathon, I applaud that. And you also have to be like, you need to do this many squats at the gym. You'll need to eat this good food. You'll need to do this training in order to be able to do it. And it's possible. Like, I encourage everyone to actually do it. So you have free will. If you have multiple realities and you're able to jump between realities, that is always available to everyone. And people do it sometimes without intending to do, like, they're like going to drive off a cliff or have some kind of a horrible accident, but somehow they miraculously jump. And at the last minute, they don't die. There's a radical redirection. They get back on the road and they don't die. Like, this happens all the time. And then a person might be like, like, near miss. I almost died, or I had a, close miss on that day. But what really happened was they got so much motivation that they were able to do that willpower jump. That's free will. It's like saying, I make a choice. Like, I ain't going to die today. I'm not going to get smashed up by a truck on the highway. I'm going to jump onto a better timeline. So once you realize you can do that in a moment of duress, then you think, well, maybe I could do it not under penalty of death. Maybe I could do that just on a daily basis, not jumping away from death, but jumping towards the events and opportunities that I would like to experience. So that's how my dance goes. Joyfully.
So is the willpower a muscle I can like train or get better at?
Oh, totally it is. Willpower is a muscle that you can train and strengthen. So what is willpower? If we ask you and our audience and everyone to participate in this little exercise, if I say, if you have arms, raise one of your arms. And in whatever mechanism you did in that moment, in order to connect your neurology and skeletal muscles to your willpower, that is what you need to use. But what we're connecting to in terms of an anatomy in expressing our will is not just our physical arm and skeletal muscles, it's time. It's our time body. That we're not just supposed to be sitting here in time and have time happen to us. We're supposed to be affecting time. So there are some of these fish like salmon, when they swim en masse in a big giant group of salmon, they can literally redirect rivers, and they do this. We're not just supposed to be swimming in a river and be tumbling along like idiots or whatever. We're supposed to be actually directing the flow of the river by the way that we choose to swim our consciousness through time. So yeah, what we do with our willpower and those muscles that we like, so with salmon, they go out to the Pacific Ocean, they get a lot stronger, and then they can swim upstream. We're here in this material world, gaining our muscles to be able to do this willpower jump.
Sounds good, but here's the frustrating thing. I can't even make my mind shut up.
I understand.
No, and I've done like tons of meditation. I was really searching for the truth very desperately in philosophy, and I was like pushing the universe against the wall. Like, I'm either going to find this truth or I'm the fuck out of here. And then I think really something happened, because by accident, of course, a flyer fell into my hand. I was looking for an apartment, and there was this satsang lady, and she had, you're infinite love and consciousness. I was like, wow, this sounds really fucking hippie. Let me check this out. Like, and all my colleagues said, no, I'm not going. I'm not bringing my own pillow. Fuck this shit. And I was like, Jesus, really? The pillow? And then I went there, and she just told me, just imagine everything's gone and just stay there. And then I just did that, and it worked. Like,
awesome.
on the first session. I was like, what? This is it? This is all there is? This is that simple? You gotta be kidding me. And then I dropped out of university and dropped out of society and said, oh, fuck this shit. I'm not reading any more books. I'm not studying this. And society can fuck off too. And then I just lived into on a farmhouse in nature. And then I just thought, okay, I'm just gonna do like art. I don't even know what, but I'm just gonna do that and just meditate. And that's it. And no plan B and no nothing. And of course that did not work because I was so lonely. I was meditating a lot. I was meditating so much that I lost interest in life. And I kind of got addicted maybe even to meditation. Nobody told me that's even possible. But it was really it became such a problem. I became depressed and blah, and medication and therapy and everything to the whole operating system crashed. And I had to get help to get it, rebooted. It was a terrible, girlfriend broke up with me, like heartbroken. It was all collapsing, and then the meditation was saving my life. Yeah. But it also became like a dead end. It became a problem. I couldn't function in this world. How am I supposed to handle living in this world? I can't just meditate and fly. Whoops, So the point I'm trying to make is, if it would have been so easy, I would still be meditating since the year 2000 on the Swabian Alp. But obviously, it's not that easy. And even like getting my mind shut up is a problem. I'm not even able to control that. And then if you say, yeah, there's the heart and I need to connect to this heart and it's nurturing. Yeah, but why is it so hard to just absorb this? If this is nurturing me, then why am I shit scared of nothing? And why is everybody else shit scared of nothing? This is like the problem everybody has. Everybody is scared of nothing. Oh, I gotta say this. I gotta, fill in the blank so there's no awkward silence. Oh, nobody can stand the fucking silence. Somebody has to talk some shit to break the silence, right? It's like everywhere. Oh no, I need to be busy, and blah, blah, blah. This is all the story. I'm so important. Check my news and blah, blah. This is all we all spend our entire day with complete nonsense.
Yes.
And I'm not apologizing and I'm not taking it back. And this is pretty much the proof we're idiots. And I feel terrible on this planet surrounded by fucking morons. Okay? Please help me to figure this out because it's really a problem. And if I could just build this flying rainbow lasagna, I would jump in and go to another dimension now. Zip, I'm the fuck out of here. You figure this shit out yourself because I can't really wake up anybody. My mission is to wake up people, but I can just see, nobody's fucking waking up. And if I try to point this out, I could pick a list that's longer than my toilet paper and people are just not seeing it. And I'll hand it over to you, and you fill in all what's necessary.
Totally.
But it's just there's so many examples. They should be so easy. 9/11 was a terrorist. Well, then we can go 100 miles in circles, but you still have to explain to me why was Building 7 still standing behind the shot when it was broadcasted before it happened on the media. How do you explain that, right? And then on the chemtrails, there's condensation. Yeah, but then you still have to explain to me why are there two airplanes flying in the same sky and one has a long, long ass trail that's staying for hours and the other plane has a condensation. It's only that small and it disappears in 20 seconds. Motherfucker, you still gotta explain that to me, do you? And I could go on and on and on until next week.
Yes. So I sense your frustration. I'm totally with you.
Why can people not see it? What the fuck is going on here? And how can you help me to make my life a little bit more enjoyable?
Yeah. So there's so many wonderful things that I can talk about on this. So what you were just referring to, I need to talk about as the alien invasion, current version of the alien invasion or planetary invasion. But first, I want to just talk about what you shared very beautifully about meditation as a dead end. I think that is my criticism of the way that many earthly religions and philosophies present meditation. They say, like, this is the culminative activity. Like I said, the peak of the mountain is what they said about this green point. But you can see it's like the middle of the mountain. It's not the mountain peak at all. So it's like running on a hamster wheel. You know, you can get very, very fit running on a treadmill, but you don't actually get any place. And that's what meditation is. Meditation is also like getting energy or earning money and putting it in your savings bank. So earning money is not the end all be all. The whole idea is that earning energy or earning money allows you to do good things with your money, not just sit on top of a pile of gold. So when we meditate, it's like, yes, you gain energy, you gain inner power in order to power things. Then you get to put it into the projects you want to put it into. Like if you want to put it into a communication project, you put it through your throat chakra. If you want to put it into an insight project, you put it into your the one that's up above your brow, so that you can use your telescope to look at different concepts. Like you gain the money, quote unquote, and then you can spend it on the things that you want to spend it upon. So it's instead of running on a treadmill or running around in a hamster wheel, it becomes a spiral. You don't just run in circles, you go in a spiral that actually brings you out of that, depth. It's part of the transformation process. And that when you say like blast out of this dimension, here's how I view this. Not really as an exit from this dimension, not like going through a doorway and leaving or something like that, but more the sense of a body transformation where you might still be in the same room, but you transform on such a profound level that your perception is completely different. Like just one example can be, hallucinogens. You can have two people in the very same room, but one person is hallucinating. They're having a completely different experience, positive or negative, than the other guy who's just sitting there in his mundane reality. So that level of profound mental consciousness transformation and physical transformation, like imagine the idea that you elevate or reintegrate your physical matter into light. Like right now our matter is slowed down light. What if we put a bunch of energy into this matter and make it be light? Would anybody recognize you? Like if you looked like a photon with no meat, would they be like, hey, that's my friend? Or would they even recognize you anymore? So you might look really different. You might think and perceive really differently after this metamorphosis transformation. It's not necessarily that you'll be somewhere else. You might still be here in this reality, but having a radically new and expanded experience. So then Flying Rainbow Lasagna, this is not just something that is happening like in a wonderful balanced reality where there's no distortions and everything is perfect. This is the antidote, like an antibody to a viral infection that I literally came here to this world. I invented that antidote and I literally came here to give it to people because there is a illness or an infestation. And the infestation is what you were talking about with chemtrails. You say, and I feel your frustration and I share it because I've been showing it to people, taking pictures of it and showing it to people for many years. And many people refuse to recognize the validity. Sometimes you have to call them persistent atmospheric aerosols, like use paraphrases because the mind control is so profound. These are nanoparticles that are part of self-assembling wetware. And this might sound far out, but it's not that far out. It's a type of circuitry. What wetware means is like taking your brain and adding circuitry to it so that you then become a biological interface with the computer. And all of this is what I define as exotic technology, not mundane earthly technology that humans developed. This is exotech, exotic tech that comes from beings that are not human and don't live on Earth, and they are suppressing human consciousness. So it's not just like if we lived in the time of the Buddha, like whatever, 2,500 years ago, like go meditate on a mountaintop. There are no freaking chemtrails. You're not breathing in all that stuff and having it affect not only your lungs and your skin, but your eyes, your perception, your neurology, your ability to actually think and feel and perceive. So we are in this unprecedented time where there's an agenda to reduce our natural consciousness and prevent us from making this metamorphosis. And there's all of these stumbling blocks in our way. Chemtrails are one of it. Vaccines are another part of it. Genetically modified food is another part of it. Why fry? And I do call it fry, like frying an egg. Why fry and 5G? That's another part of it. All of these are frequency pollutions. So right now it's difficult for humans to perceive it, because just like imagine when the humans first started to investigate nuclear radiation, like ionizing radiation, but they didn't have a Geiger counter. The guy who invented it didn't understand. He's walking around with a chunk of radium in his pocket and it's shooting off tons of radiation until they invented a Geiger counter. But they did that after people died. They're like, something's making everybody die. Better invent a machine to figure this out, okay? So humans don't understand that right now you're in this soup of frequency until you make the machine that can measure the frequency that ain't so good for you to be in. Then you recognize, oh, this is what's really going on. Too late, too late. So that frequency soup is interfering with these natural energy patterns. What's on my dress, the sculpture that I'm holding up, these paintings that I do, these are beautiful harmonic patterns that we're supposed to feel in our energy field. Just like Earth is supposed to have these beautiful patterns flowing around her magnetosphere, and that affects you could call it the acupuncture points of the planet. Like our body has meridians, our planet has meridians. If we keep the energy flowing beautifully, health and vitality, if we make it go like, wibbly wobbly, then we get death and disease. This is what ancient disasters, this is what happened in ancient times. So all of that in order to say that it's not just that you're trying to uplift your consciousness in a regular context. You're trying to do it in the setting of like a spiritual war, where there are so many obstacles that are placed in our path intentionally. But it's like, if you're like, I'm going to run a marathon, I'm going to do it anyway. Even if they put landmines in front of me, even if they try to put sharks in front of me, if they try to put barbed wire in front of me, I'm still going to run the marathon. So my solution is Flying Rainbow Lasagna. This is like a way of being able to jump up and over a landmine. If they have an obstacle with crocodiles, jump up and over the crocodiles. You don't have to swim across. So it's an understanding of how to fold the fabric of time, space, and consciousness, how to transform your genetic code into a new origami pattern with new opportunities, new events, new possibilities. So if they keep shooting arrows at you, you can bend it into a new reality. They try to limit and harm you, you can bend it into a new reality. It's a tool for freedom. And that's literally my agenda of why I'm here. Like, I'm not some kind of a crazy toothy monster. Like, they try to invade and take over, body snatching. I'm not on that page at all. I'm about freedom. Like, that's a basic aspect of the value system of who I am, and like the collective that I am when I'm not on Earth, and self-empowerment, and like the ability to, like, no one can run the marathon for you. You have to make your own muscles do it, to give people a chance, just to even have a chance.
Okay, let me go full lasagna here. Let me go super fucking crazy.
All right.
If we're in this timeline, or in this stream, or in this world where this stuff is happening, I mean, first of all, I don't really know why you came to this shithole at this time. Like, what the fuck is that about? Like, you're coming for the showdown now. Welcome to the apocalypse, right? The end of the end game, and we have Aurora, or what? Like, this is just plain crazy from you, okay? But like, it's so, I mean, it's just from every angle. It's so fucked up in every way. And people, the frustrating thing is that people don't understand. And the frustrating thing is they don't understand that they don't understand. So for me, I'm here, this Indigo child configuration. We maybe have to talk about that.
Yes.
And it helped me a lot to understand, oh, this is just how I'm configured. And it's not my fault that I function this way, that I have this empathy, that I want to change massively. Like, I want to break old structures and build new structures, not for me, but in a massive way, in a global way. I want to wake up the entire planet like this. Okay? But, oh, this is really not possible because you're just this one motherfucker in Berlin with no money and no, reach and no followers, and nobody's listening to me. And I even stop like having conversations because it's just fucking pointless. People insist on their point. No, the Germans are the worst, and I insist on this, and now you have to leave. This actually happened.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, really. And it's the people are so brainwashed. It's unbelievable. And to the degree it's a conversation, it's pointless. And as I can accept that, I have to accept a lot. I mean, I'm accepting all of the shit, but really, what is going on with this world? And if we are this lasagna thing that can create reality, now I go really shit crazy. who created this? Who created this reality? Because somebody had to. And if you say, oh, chemtrails is creating an interface to connect to my consciousness, then who the fuck is trying to connect? Who's building that interface? And where is this stuff coming from? And then who were those crazy lasagna people who created this type of shit and created chemtrails like this shit? And what are they doing? And why is this happening? And you so, I mean, like the 5G, and so, yeah, but it's 100 times faster than 4G. Yeah, but it's gonna fry your brain, Carl. It's gonna destroy your DNA, Jessica. It's gonna fuck up your body, Justin. Wake the fuck up. Like, people need to get their head out of their ass pronto, and they got it so far up their own ass they don't see anything, and they wonder why it's so dark. And now I'm here talking my mouth like almost sounding like you. I can't speak fast enough to get all this shit off my chest.
I would love to hear more about your experience of being an Indigo. And let me just say, so I've been here, on Earth for about 18 years. And in some of my earlier experiences, I did a lot of work being a professional nanny and a live-in babysitter, professional babysitter and live-in nanny. And I worked with some wonderful young people from like infant age up to age 10 and 12. And a lot of them were Indigo children. And I really felt that was why I had those gigs, like that I could be kind of like a mentor and maybe teach them protection, because a lot of them were very sometimes under spiritual attack. Like one little boy was wetting his bed because he had lots of ghosts in his room. So I would try to teach them in whatever way I could, or a benevolent spirit practice, like something that can help them. I used to always carry this little Herkimer diamond, and I would say that it was my cell phone to the cosmos. And one little boy, he used to put it on his shoulder. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm talking to my angels. I'm like, okay, cool. Like I would try to give them little things like that. So I think the Indigo generation is here, really trying to give prepare the ground for the garden. And then the next generation that came in was seeds that were ready to be planted. Like everybody who keeps coming in, it's not like you have to wait to be age 18 to have a profound impact. Like little tiny babies and infants that are born this year are now having a profound impact in terms of the consciousness revolution and what we're doing. So, it's been a challenging uphill battle. Every generation had to push and punch through membranes to kind of make more opportunities. Now it's so many more opportunities are available than weren't available before. And I know the regular people, like the muggles, the regular folk, it can be very frustrating to try to integrate with them, to try to get them to understand they have a completely different operating system, a very different way of perceiving reality. And, a lot of people think that technology is the savior, like some kind of artificial intelligence will save us or some machine will save us. I'm completely the antithesis. I think that we need to prevent 5G, because I think that literally the 5G network shuts down our natural psychic powers and makes it more difficult for us to connect with our natural divinity. And I made clear, I'm not a biblical literalist. When I'm talking about divinity, I'm talking about an abstract, beautiful presence type of form. And this technology takes us away from there. So I think that we need to figure out, we can do everything we need to do in terms of our evolution and, things that would be considered miraculous, healing, building things, creating things, all with our mind, all with our telepathy, all with our spirit power, our love power. It's not technology. Or if you use the word technology, you must say your body. Your body is the most sophisticated piece of technology, quote unquote, that you have available to you right now. This biology and connecting it to life force energy and what we can do with that. Our voices are magical. Literally, we have magical voices that we can use to sing a new reality into being. And that's what we're supposed to be doing here as musicians in this band. So it's just a question of I tell this story too. Years ago, I went to a child's birthday party, and a little girl, she got a violin for her present. She was maybe 6 or so. It was a huge gift, and she took it so excitedly, and she went it sounded horrible. And she kind of made this face, and she handed it back to the person who gave it to her, and she said, "No, thanks, it's broken." And we all laughed oh, how charming. She's a little girl. We had to say, no, sweetheart, it's not broken. You just have to practice. You just have to figure out how to play it. It takes practice. So, keep going. That's what it is with the body. Our bodies are the instrument, like the violin. But if your music sounds it's not that your body is broken. It's just that you have to learn how to play it. You have to learn how to tune it. You have to learn about the possibilities of it, and you have to become a virtuoso. And then we can have this amazing reality that is where our bodies are healthy. We have healthy social dynamics, like that whole idea of capitalism where some people have so much golden mansions, some people are eating out of a garbage heap. That ends because we have a different perspective. Like it's much more of the consciousness of recognizing all of the cells of your body need adequate blood supply. Like, why would you want part of your body to have gangrene because it doesn't have blood supply? Like, that's what our society is like. Where we have profound poverty, some people have no money, they have no blood supply, they are eating garbage. That's like gangrene. We don't want that in our body. We want to have everybody thriving. So, and I'm not talking about like some artificial kind of communist, socialist, control system on top of the natural. It's more a sense of like wanting to share. And I think that the desire to share is part of the natural human form. Like, I don't think that cooperation, I don't think that competition is natural. I think that everybody has to be taught, like the game of musical chairs, like you better try to go out there and get that money because somebody else is going to try to get it first. And it's a survival technique. I don't think we come here in that way. I think we come here wanting to be sharing, beautiful, open people. Like I know some of these beautiful little toddlers, they were so like, they walk over to you with open arms. Like they just want to hug you. Like when you're that age, you don't know, like you can't hug everybody and you got to compete against them. You got to try to earn money instead of them. Like all of these things that are taught to us in society subtly over time. But I don't think that that's our true basic nature. I think our true nature is to be much more divine and helpful than what many people think of themselves.
Okay, but let me try to get back to my point. Like, who created this? I totally appreciate everything you're saying. Who created this world that is it's just really like fucked up. It's not an exaggeration. Like I'm out of words. That's never a good sign if I'm out of words because it's so bad. Like and people are not getting it, and I think this is part of the problem because if people would see this and they would just stand up and say no. I'm not complying. I'm not playing along. And the system can't work without the consensus of all these people. And if they would like wake up and get their heads out of their ass, and they would see, oh, there's so much going wrong, and I'm not complying, and I'm keeping the system alive. And I don't know why it's so difficult to understand this. I mean, okay, we have central banks, and they owned by a couple of people, and they control the money by fake money. They have a printing press and a telephone and a desk. And that's all they need to make this whole shit show run. And like, I don't understand how, like, people are like, my impression is people don't understand even the basic things. Like, oh, it's the Federal Reserve. Yeah, it's like the federal bank, isn't it? No, it doesn't have anything to do with the federal government just because it has federal in the name. It's the government is not even controlling their own money. And then people should be standing up. What? My government? It's not even controlling the money? What the fuck is this shit? No, the government owes the money. They borrow the money. It's a whole debt system. All money is debt, and it can never be repaid. And why are people still complying with this? This is nonsense. And why is it so hard to see? Why is it so hard to see that the government is not your friend? Why is it so hard to see? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to vote. Like we had the European vote. I was like, okay, but people, you need to understand. Like the European Union is not a sovereign state. It's a private company. It's a private corporation. It's a debt company. And a debt company cannot do elections. It's just not what companies are able to do. If you want to do an election, you have to be a sovereign state first. This is how this works. And everybody's going, oh, I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote for the new CEO. Well, it doesn't make a fucking difference what CEO you vote because the CEO is going to execute the company policy. Hello. And when are people waking up to this? It doesn't make a fucking difference who's like the puppeteers who are doing this. Oh, they're selling what has already been decided to the public. Totally. They don't decide shit. And they shouldn't be, because they're terrible people. They are incompetent. They're not deciding anything. They're just signing off some paperwork they don't even understand. I can't even call it a law, because a company can't have a law. It's just like, and then people go, yeah, go to vote. It's like, even artists like critical. I'm not complaining about the average Joe who doesn't have education. I'm complaining in the general way, because I'm talking about educated people, lawyers, doctors. I had those conversations with those people. I'm not making this up. They are not getting it. They're not getting it a bit. They don't see the problem a bit. And I don't understand what's going on. Oh, you need to vote. Go to vote. Well, if you go to vote for a private company, then you just did not pass the idiot test. Okay?
Totally. They're parasites by definition.
Like, if you go to vote and you think that's going to make a difference, you didn't pass the idiot test, because the idiot test would be, oh, you're telling me to vote? Well, I'm telling you to fuck off. Because you're a company and you can't have an election in the first place. Get lost.
Good. Yeah, so when you were asking in such frustration, like, who even created this place? This is really the answer that we have to look at. And I talk about this in my class. I just usually get to like the 18th lesson. So it's like a couple of months into the class. We don't usually start off with it. But the answer is, so there's an original like creator, like the great composer that made all of the music, like Mozart. And then we're like the symphony musicians, we're playing it. And there's supposed to be a direct rapport between ourselves, the composer, and us, the players. But there's this intervention, these mind parasites that came to our planet actually millennia ago, like over 10,000 years ago. And that they degraded our DNA, that they essentially like hijacked this reality. So we're supposed to be these quantum creators in the moment. We're supposed to be looking at the potentials of waveforms of fifth dimension and higher, and using our observership to create those potentials into actual reality. So if I'm holding up a glass of juice, what I'm actually holding up is a waveform of possibilities. And my observership is collapsing this into an actual glass of juice that we can all agree upon, touch and taste and sense. However, there is a hijacking that's going on that is at the level of the rational mind, of what we think is possible, where our ideas and our imagination and the energy for creating life through quantum observership, like through creating events, rather, through quantum observership, is hijacked and siphoned off and misapplied to realities that we do not consent to realities where people suffer and die. So think it's kind of like, imagine you're making dough, like dough with flour, like you're making that with your mind and with your imagination, and someone's coming along and stealing it before you get a chance to make it into beautiful, nourishing bread at a bakery. They take it and they turn it into something rotten and fill it with horrible chemicals. This is what happens with our mind, with our mental energy. So if you've ever experienced any amount of anxiety, that's what this is. The generative stuff of your mind, the life force of your mind, is being taken and misapplied to realities that you never want to experience. Like, I'm afraid or worried that someone I love is dead, or I'm afraid or worried of nuclear war, or I'm afraid or worried that my car is going to break down on the highway. Any reality you don't want, but you're spending time thinking about it and putting mental energy into it. The dough of reality is being baked into bad bread.
The fear of death. All of it is the fear that I have to die.
Totally.
And who's hijacking this? Who?
Okay, so these are technology using extraterrestrials. So I'm not a technology using extraterrestrial. Everything I do is natural. So the analogy would be, I'm like an opera singer who has trained my voice to perfectly sing really loud without any technology, as opposed to a heavy metal musician who needs the microphone and the amp in order to sound loud. So these horrible aliens are like heavy metal musicians. No offense if you like heavy metal, but just like think like loud, amplified, scratchy voices that are not very good. Like opera singers make perfect waveforms. That's why their voices are loud. They know how to resonate with their natural faculties here. If you don't know how to do that naturally, then you use a microphone, which is a machine. So these beings came to this planet using their artificially augmented mental powers and basically technology. It's like kind of like the Spanish conquistadors. We have guns, we have horses, we're going to invade, we're going to do whatever we want to do on your society. And they did this, as I said, millennia ago. It is so far back that there's human amnesia, and most people cannot recognize it, even though much of that amnesia in this generation is being, healed. So there are a lot of archaeologists that are, looking into alternative explanations from the traditional dating, like the eras that we go back into, how far back human history goes and what happened, what cataclysms happened. There's a lot of good work being done now with alternative archaeologists that say, hey, the Sphinx is older than the official 2,500 years. The erosion patterns don't match. Human society was active much older. There's artifacts out of place in the fossil record that show sophisticated activities much earlier than it's supposed to be. So you start to see that there's this pattern of amnesia of things were different and then things got changed. So there was a planetary invasion that we used to not have to use any technology on this planet. And that what happened was our DNA was distorted, our minds were subverted. And this is the beginning of what is known as civilization, but I should say it's called domestication. It's the sophisticated civilization of humanity is not humans being free. It's humans being domesticated. Like a wolf becomes a dog, and it's a little tiny dog that has to have special food and can't go out hunting on its own. That's what humans are like now. We got to live in a house and have electric lights and eat food from a grocery store, and that's not our original blueprint.
It's like a people farm. This
completely,
place. Yeah,
completely.
But let me go back. Like, who are these creatures? What is their name, and who created them?
So I don't have a name for them. So I use various euphemisms. I call them the pesky occupiers of the interstices with this membrane between worlds is what I call the interstice. It's like a meniscus, a membrane, a layer between different layers of density. And it's not meant to be a place that is occupied. It's kind of like a transit point, a hallway between different areas of reality, but they have set up shop there. And they were originally beings that existed in a non-embodied state. And you're supposed to only get a physical body like the kind that you and I have, and I presume our audience has. This is a biological cellular body. So if you want to come into reality, if you don't have a body in physical reality, you want to be in reality, you have to get a body by being alive, by playing the right music. So you have to play the right music, gestating in the womb to make a container that you can use to come into the world. And that's part of the fail-safe mechanisms so that crap doesn't come into the world. Bad music is not supposed to come into the world. You're supposed to be a good musician, and you demonstrate that by growing a body. But these beings said, no, I'm not going to be a good musician. I'm not going to grow a body. I'm going to make a fake technological body. Then I don't have to play the good music of love and, conform to divinity and to that divine blueprint. So that's what they did. And they created technological containers. It went horribly awry. This is also I talk about this a lot in my class, but I usually it's a heavy trip. I wait to lay the heavy trip on everybody because it can make you feel angry, and it's not okay. Because what those beings who use technology started, before then you didn't have to use technology because everything that you needed to do, you could achieve naturally. Now these beings created for themselves a quandary or a limitation where they couldn't be alive in the natural way. So they had to keep getting life force energy from us, from you and me. That's the violation. That they're violating cosmic law because they're saying they're going to it's like we have a good aquifer, we have good water, but they're going to tap into our well and take the water from us without permission instead of getting their own viable well, which is what they're supposed to do. So that's the negative thing that's been going on through this.
Okay, let me get this straight. So they are hijacking my willpower, my free will to be happy, and then they create some kind of thought. So I'm angry and I'm disappointed and I'm frustrated.
I would say that they siphon off energy. So all of these little shapes that I hold up are made out of spinning wheels of energy, just like a bicycle. Bicycle has spinning wheels and you're rolling down the road and everything's great. But let's say somebody suddenly siphons off energy from one of your spinning wheels and then you end up falling head first over the handlebars because your wheels are not spinning. That is akin to having tumbling thought structure or tumbling emotions. You might be going along feeling really great and your bicycle wheels of your emotions are spinning. Then all of a sudden one of these outside entities kind of siphons off energy and all of a sudden you feel anger, sadness, grief, emotional reactivity, whatever are those feelings. It's because you just lost a bunch of money. You had a bunch of emotional energy of joy and they just stole it from you.
So it's like a car that I'm driving, but they're found a way to sneak in some device to suck off gas from my what's it called, from my car. So
Exactly.
they're taking energy from my car, and then my car goes good, 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 good. And I wonder what the fuck's wrong with me? And there's no, it's nothing wrong with me. It's just somebody stealing my gas out of the truck.
You totally got it. It's a hacked system. Like when your computer gets hacked and somebody steals something out of your bank account, it's not fair. It's illegal. It's totally not what's supposed to be happening. And it happens. So we're in this world right now that's a hacked reality where we're supposed to have all of this beautiful energy that we can use to create reality and drive on the roads that we want to in time. And something else comes along and says, I'm going to steal your energy and I'm going to use it to make this crappy stuff happen to you instead, where you get a disease and then you eventually die. And you're like, I don't want that. It's not fair. And I completely agree. And that's why I invented Flying Rainbow Lasagna, in order to rectify the situation. Because you can, as an individual, do this Flying Rainbow Lasagna. It's a very badass move. And then they can't do that to you anymore. You get all your energy back. You get
I can cut off the energy supply. I can.
You got it.
And they docked onto my energy, and I can cut them off, and then I have full energy back.
Completely. And you can also transform now that you have all of your energy. Like your car can go not only 10 miles an hour, it can go 100 miles an hour. You can have a much different experience of moving through time. So we're supposed to be able to be imaginative creators where we can make things happen. If you're like, hey, I want to, write an album and collaborate with someone who plays the saxophone, you're supposed to be able to make that happen. And and many people, they might think in this world with limited thought structure, many people might think, oh, I'd love to be able to create an album and have that saxophone player, but I can't do that because of this and this and this and money and blah, blah, blah. Like there's all the limitations. But what we're supposed to have is unimpeded thought structure where you say, I have an impulse that is my divine impulse to make this music, and I will get the collaborative people that I need together to do it, and I make the project happen. And that becomes a beautiful symphony of reality. It can be something artistic like music, or it can be something like building a garden, a community garden, or it can be something like building a completely different economic and social structure that's much fairer and more comfortable for everybody.
But it should go even further. Like I should not supposed to get tired. I should not supposed to need sleep. I should not supposed to eat and waste all this crappy time on this shit. I can just stay awake and just keep doing my stuff.
That's exactly what life was like before the genetic degradation. So before the planetary invasion on this planet, you would call it the time of Atlantis. Like there was a time that would be considered utopia before our genes were degraded and we didn't have to eat physical food. Everything was through sunlight. So that means you didn't have to kill another animal or plant and then eat it in order for you to stay alive. You could bypass that whole chain of eating, food chain, and eat nothing but, I'm putting it at my window, sunlight directly. So everything was very, very different. And yes, you didn't have, because a lot of the sleep in our world right now is necessary for digestion, processing food, and cellular regeneration. So if you're a clean running, like a solar engine, you don't have to spend all that time processing your coal and pooping it out. So it's a different ethically because you're not causing death in order to stay alive. It's different physically, and it's a much more streamlined existence. So yes, that's what our original blueprint is. I'm happy that you can kind of sense that inside. When I first came here into this body as Aurora, I tried to do not just eat nothing but pure sunlight. I just was sun gazing. I didn't understand that I needed physical food too. So my level of expression here is I'm kind of like, like those electric cars that can do electric, but they can do gas too. They need both of those things. That's what my body is like. So I eat regular food, fill up my stomach with regular food, but I also do sun gazing to get the energy for my light body. And I know that we are in this transition at this time where our physical cellular bodies will again be able to eat pure light and not have to have physical food. And there's a lot of people that are on this journey. Some people call it becoming a breatharian because they envision it as more like a breathing in. Some people recognize it's being a light eater. Whatever is your path, I validate it. Like people can do the paintings in different styles. That's what this is. They're painting the same thing, but with different styles. And yeah, it's the idea of living off of consciousness and life force without the intermediary of plants and animals. And that's what we're supposed to be able to do. And you have much less aging and cellular degradation if you're living in that way because you don't have all of the byproducts of digestion and the energy that has to go into digesting food, which is actually quite a lot of our energy goes into just digesting food and staying alive.
Yeah, and also the unhappiness, the frustration, the running around trying to get fulfilled and happiness. I mean, I've been there, done all of that. The whole personal development, rah. You have to work on yourself, and then you have the million. I can tell you right now, I don't have the $1 million in the bank, and I'm not a successful artist. But I can tell you, even if I'm a super successful artist, I get my dick sucked around the globe. I have superstar models as girlfriends. I have millions of dollars in the bank. I'm just going to feel the fucking same.
Right. It's necessary to do the inner transformation, like to metamorphosize on a genetic level. It means play different music, play different musical patterns with your DNA. So I had the way that you do this is to, like, Flying Rainbow Lasagne is not just an intellectual concept. It's an actual embodiment, like similar to the Merkaba, if you're familiar with that. It's a shape that you envision around yourself, and you also meditate or practice envisioning it. Flying Rainbow Lasagne is very similar. It's a concept that I can tell people about, and I can tell you all of the math behind it. That's what my class is about. That's like learning music theory, but it's also a verb, and I can demonstrate it to people. And I usually do that like in the context of a live workshop where I can show people, like, this is what I'm doing. So I'm vibrating on a subcellular level, but I also do these various different hand movements and body movements that are analogous to, and I have animations that I can show you too. There's like an up-down dancing, a side-to-the-side dancing, kind of an in-out oscillation, and end-over-end kind of tumbling and rotation. So these are these various different dance movements. I'm like a dance teacher. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You do an actual dance. So it's not just an intellectualism. It's we're as a species, we are getting out of our intellect and we are getting into our direct experience of the moment now, but not just like in a survival instinct type of way, in the level of virtuosity, like when you're a symphony musician and you're just playing and your fingers know exactly what to play, or a ballerina who knows exactly how to move. You don't have to think, you just do it. That's because you're just that good at it. So we're moving into that level of personal expression and reality creation. And of course, it's a transition to get there. And part of the journey getting there is healing, because I recognize each human has trauma as an individual, and the planet here has trauma, like experiencing death. If you've ever had anyone die in your life, that's a traumatic event. And death is a very unnatural thing. We're not supposed to see our loved ones die. We're not supposed to see our pets die. We're not supposed to see skeletons that are not clothed by flesh. We're supposed to see living beings. Like that in Atlantis, the primary trauma was when death was invented. Death had never been invented. No one had ever died. We had a planetary invasion. People started dying. And for the first time ever, you saw your loved ones go from like standing upright to falling over and then rotting. That was the primary trauma. And everyone who's here now, we were all here then. We've all been reincarnated. We're all here living this, but we won't have the same outcome. So we get to have the corrective experience. Like if you had an attack or a bad car accident or whatever, you might be well recovered, but you keep thinking like, maybe it'll happen again. Every time you get in the car, you think, maybe I'll have another car accident. Like you presume that. So because this planet has been traumatized and each one of us are carrying a little bit of that primary trauma, people are expecting the worst. They're expecting like there's going to be a catastrophe or, rivers of lava or an earthquake or something will happen. That is what happened a long time ago. And people expect some loss of their mind, some degradation. That's what happened a long time ago. What we get to experience now is the healing, where you get back, your amnesia gets fixed, you remember who you are, you reconnect with your divinity, and you kind of get your superpowers back. And you then get to, I want to say kick butt, but it's much more joyful than that. It's not just about vengeance. It's about, like, imagine if like you've been wearing a straitjacket your whole life and all of a sudden you take it off and like your wings can come out and you can fly around joyously. Like that's what this expansion is going to be like.
And I have so many questions, like who created death? Like who invented that? Why did that happen? And how I feel like we are in a time right now. I sense it, at least, that this is it's like the end game, AI at the horizon, 5G, poison in the food, poison in the air, it's like, and then the problem that people still think, fluoride in the water, that's because my government takes care of me. It's like, oh my God, like this is just really unbelievable. And again, the educated people with a master degree. My dentist has a master degree and wants to put fluoride on my teeth. And then I researched this. We're not doing this anymore.
I'm so happy you said no.
It's like really, yeah, but I had to research all of this stuff, within every area. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is like, is this really like, okay, the point I'm trying to make is the way I see this. Not enough people are speaking what I'm saying, what you're saying. Not enough people are waking up fast enough. Jessica and Justin are waiting for the 5G to come on, and think that's all great. And this is the culture I'm living in. It's like, give me a break. And I don't see people waking fast enough. And by the time they're ready and they ate enough hot dogs and they watched enough Netflix, maybe there's more to life. Maybe let's check out the rainbow lasagna. Well, at that time, we're not gonna have a planet left to wake up to, and I feel like this is the end game, and it's coming now. And if I'm making I don't know, the next 5 to 10 years, if I'm still gonna be alive, well, then guess I'm the lucky one. I don't. Is this like totally? Am I a victim of this fear porn? Is this really what's going on now? Are we really running out of time? Is this all coming down? How serious is this?
I think your assessment of endgame is absolutely accurate. And not that this is fear porn, and I'm not that type of a teacher in any way, because I'm really more about personal empowerment, more in the sense like whenever I'm hanging out with friends, I'm always the person that says like, it is time for us to get in the car. Like if we're going to go see a movie, like I'm like, guys, if we don't do this now, we're going to miss the movie. That's how I feel about personal transformation or planetary metamorphosis or ascension, however you're defining this with the physical word. That 5G is pretty much like a huge obstacle for our consciousness, that if we don't turn on our superpowers before they flip the switch and turn on 5G, it's going to be really, really difficult, because 5G is pretty much mind control, where it's very difficult to exert your free will and make the choices that we're supposed to be able to make as experiencers in reality. So I keep telling everybody, the time is now. The time is now to claim your own divinity and your own connection to being a creator in reality. That's what this is, where you say, you are a super being. You are connected to the divine. You are here to be a musician in reality, not just to have someone else, like to be a puppet and someone else is pulling the strings and telling you what to do with your thoughts and with your behavior. So I think that there is no more time. And this is not fear mongering. And also, the decision is not like, well, I wish I had blah, blah amount of money, then I would be able to fight against this. The decision does not rest upon how much money you have. It's totally an internal decision. So that's why, I try to make this information as available as possible to people. Like I have tuition, but I also have a lot of information that's just available, because I don't want anyone to be like, oh, like I would have loved to metamorphosize, but Aurora wouldn't give me the information. So I couldn't do it. So it's not based upon money. It's not based upon social status or anything like that. It's literally like, if you want to run a marathon, you just have to put on your sneakers and get out there and run and do it. So if you want to do this inner metamorphosis and transform before 5G is happening, what you have to do is, yes, make decision, exert your willpower, begin the quote unquote muscle building, the personal transformation to be able to do it, learn the actual techniques, because you don't have to run alone. You can run with a club. It's so much easier to run a marathon if you train with other runners. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to do it all on your own, but you do have to have your own muscle power. Like no one can carry you. And this is about creating reality with your mind. When I talk about running the marathon, that's what it is. First, you do baby steps. We're like, wow, I made a thing happen. And then I make another thing happen, and you gain your muscles because you believe in yourself more. I believe in my capacity to create reality. And fear, what you were saying, fear of death, fear happens because you're blind and you can't see the future. If you can see the road of time, you don't have to be fearful because you can tell what's going to happen. So if you could see the future accurately, you would never be afraid of having too little money or too little food or too little of what you need, because you could say, oh, I can see the future. I know if I will have enough. If I don't have enough, I'll go on this timeline. I'll go over here. I'll do something different. Same thing with death. If you can see the future and you can tell like, wow, if I keep eating this, I'm going to die in 5 years. I better eat something different and make different choices and switch to a different timeline so that I don't have that outcome. That's what fear is. Fear is totally the end result that is very valid of being blinded and not being able to see accurately. So we heal all of that fear when we reawaken our higher faculties and reconnect to our ability to perceive time directly.
So let me give me a time frame. How fast, if people decide now to go full on lasagna,
right?
How fast are they? I don't know how to say this. How
Right.
fast are they operational? Is the lasagna like on a level that's operational to be like higher than this destructive world that we live in, and how much time is in this destructive world left to get in the other dimension? Because like you're saying, and well, I mean, you gotta be the one that knows this shit. Like, I don't know, really, I really don't know who else to ask. So if you're saying like this is going downhill fast, then I want to. I gotta build this spaceship to flow up here, because this whole world is going bye-bye and I'm not going with it. So I'm like, I have to go up here. Like I have to reinvent my whole thing. So I'm flying in a different dimension, and you motherfuckers go all bye-bye. And then you're gonna think back like, oh shit, Miniman was right. He's saying the same fucking shit since 20 years. Damn, I didn't listen. And now I'm going straight to hell. It's like hell is not even like, probably it's not even bad enough. Let's keep this super light. Like I'm so happy that you're laughing, because it's not funny. It's like it's not really funny at all, because like the people are just going like, I don't know, in the abyss. I don't know what's going to happen. But
lightheartedness is a weapon, because this is some dark stuff. So we have to keep it light, but we're not laughing at anyone. We're laughing at the situation because it is profoundly ridiculous. Yeah, and I loved your accurate assessment. Pretty much, yeah, you have to build your personal starship now and start going up, 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 because otherwise you will be on the other graph, which goes down, down, down. So you asked me what is like
the time window. How fast do I need to take off to not get dragged down?
You pretty much have to take off immediately. And so like my class is a class that's about 5 months long or so. And so that during that trajectory, I teach people the basics. It's like, how fast does it take for a person to learn to play the piano? You know, you can learn a song in a day, but that's not the same as learning all of music theory and all of the chords and stuff like that. So I can give people like a general idea of the basics of lasagna in a workshop that's a weekend. But in order to really know, like, it takes time to learn and internalize it. I will tell you, I've had some people come to my studio who are like super geniuses. They're very fast, like fast learners. And I could just like pretty much tell them really, really fast, show them the information, show them the diagrams, and they just kind of like took it in a giant chunk. But even still, then it takes time to digest it and time to understand it. So I don't expect everyone to be an instant virtuoso. It is very manageable to say, like, learn about it like over the course of 4 or 5 months. And the way that I do my class, I have it broken up into sensible bites so that it's not like too overwhelming, because the idea is I don't just give this teaching to people who are experienced mathematicians and quantum physicists and people who are really knowing all about this. I do this in a way that's accessible to a person who has no background and no training in it. So you start from the beginning. I put it all in sensible increment, and then it's foundational. So it's best to hop on board at the beginning, just like a TV show. Makes more sense if you watch it from episode 1 and you watch the episodes in their proper order. So by whatever, about episode 13 or so of the class, I start to get into the actual specifics of how to do the lasagna, like what you're doing with your mind, what you're doing with your DNA, and what you're doing with your physical body and your energy structure. And so, yeah, I mean, the real answer is there's no time like the present, because whatever efforts you make right now, you will be met at least halfway by the cosmos. Like if you're like trying, you just got in the band, you have got, like, imagine you just joined the band and somebody gave you a guitar. You're like, awesome, I'm here. I don't know how to play at all. The composer is very, very loving. We'll just give you like a very simple part, like just do your simple part and then play with the band. And as you grow as a musician, you can get a more complex part. So that's it. You can begin with very, very simple dance patterns. It doesn't have to be full on jazz with all the weird chords and tunings and things like that. Sometimes you can just go along with the beat. Even if you don't know the melody, you can still tap your foot along with the beat. So it's like, no one gets turned away. If you have a good heart, like if you have the right intentions, you're not going to get turned away. Like, sorry, you didn't pass the audition. Like you are, condemned to hell because you're not a good musician. It's not like that. What matters most is that you have the good intention, you have a good heart, and that you're willing to learn. So I have wonderful people in my class. Some people have been in the class for like 5 years and they're like still trying to master the concepts. Some people are in the class and they master it right away. And everybody's learning style is respected. So that's why like you can take the class over and you don't have to keep re-enrolling. Like if you're in the class, you can keep on coming back and being in the webinars. It's a conversation and we learn from each other in the conversation. So I also think of it as kind of like flying through space with these many multiple spaceships together. Like we each have our individual starship, and that's your energy field. And we are intellectually like, bonded together, sharing these ideas that there's a cohesion that happens. Like you talk with the other people, you share your ideas, you share your feelings, they share theirs back, I share mine. There's just like within a band, there's a rapport that happens where everybody's listening to everybody else and sharing these energy patterns. That's what the class is. So I've been doing this for about 6.5 years. And yeah, so I have a very good cohesive group of musicians in the symphony, and then new people keep on joining up. So it's like, it's okay. It's okay if you don't understand everything in the beginning. The more experienced musicians are doing the more complex patterns, and you can start off with more simple patterns, but you're still in the band. You're still doing something. So I don't want anyone to think like, oh no, like I'm not going to ascend. I'm going to be left behind. Like, like you see other people going off in a wonderful direction and you'll be left behind with all the sinners. Like, no. And I also don't believe that you're a sinner, and I don't believe in Christian rapture. Like it's not that type of a thing. It's a transformation of your consciousness. And it's also a lot about taking personal accountability and personal responsibility. Because like if I make a painting, my paintings are really perfectly drawn and people look at them with a magnifying glass and they're like looking for little mistakes. So I know like I have to try to make them look right. If I make it slapdash, like I'm going to be held accountable. Someone's going to be like, wait, this part is a fingerprint and this part is a smudge and this part's not right. I'm like, oh man, they're really watching. So yeah, you have to be held accountable in this reality creation, which is just like making a painting. You got to make sure that you send out the proper thought waves with the right intention so that you're actually making something that's a loving expression, not something that's based in fear or, any of the turmoil that we have, which I also validate. I know there's a lot of turmoil. So that's why we need to do the inner healing at the same time that we're building our muscles for reality creation. And I'm not a perfect person. I have inner healing to do too. And I do reality creation. So whenever I do reality creation, I do it from my best standpoint of like the events that are most beneficial to the most people. I'm thinking about the whole. I'm not just doing what is good for me. I'm not just acting from a level of selfishness. I'm attempting to make music that sounds good to everybody, where everybody gets to have a part in this symphony and have abundance and be able to have freedom and self-expression. And I truly believe that there is a way to organize our world so that we experience that. That's not just a utopian fantasy. That is actually like the reality. That's like saying, yeah, the musicians are all supposed to play together and the music is supposed to sound good. That's not just a fantasy. That's called like having a band as opposed to having, horrible anarchy with horrible music that you don't want to listen to, which is what we have now, which is not good.
But I mean, like, this is like how it's supposed to be. This is the world we're supposed to be living in, right? Should be like how we grew up, and it should be our culture. And I don't know where this whole sense of responsibility is coming from. Why I'm feeling. I mean, I know why the whole Indigo child configuration, but I'm really feeling that I'm responsible for this planet, and this is absurd. Like, because I mean. I don't know, like I'm doing this podcast and maybe some people are watching it and you can upload it to your YouTube video. You have a couple of followers more, but this is so little. It's like when you told me, I'm going to start the next semester in June and I don't know if I'm going to have enough people sign up. I almost started crying. It's like, really, it's like, how is this possible? Like PewDiePie, no offense to PewDiePie, I love the guy, but he is having 50 million over 50 million subscribers playing video games, and you don't have enough people, or maybe not enough people, probably enough, but I mean, just like, what is going on? What is going on? You should be having a gigantic followers, or not because you're so I mean, you're great, but that's not the reason they should doing it. They should be doing it because they want it. And they should understand or see that this is their lucky ticket. And I hope people are getting this after watching the video and listening to the podcast, because the time is really now. And the people who want to get on board, they should get on board, because for them, or, you know, for the life on this planet. I mean, look at the place. Yeah. I mean, species are dying left and right, like the insects gone 70%. Oh, not a problem. My windshield is cleaner. It's like, what is going on with those people? I'm keep asking the same question, but it's just not, I'm not getting it. I'm thinking like I'm in the wrong movie. Somebody dropped me off the wrong planet. Like, Aurora, where are you from? Maybe they can pick me up. I'm ready to fucking go. Like, I don't even need to pack my stuff. I don't need a suitcase. We can go right now.
Right, travel light. Well, I don't come from a planet, even though I used to jokingly say I came from planet Aurora. I come from another dimension. So literally, this shape is a higher dimensional shape, and you're invited to, quote, come on board by mastering it with your own body. So it's like if you imagine that you have to reshape your body like a lock to go in a key, a key to go in a lock. Like there's an edifice that you have to be the right shape in order to go into that edifice. That's what this higher dimensional state is. You have to shape yourself in the right way in order to be able to go there. So I'm here as an envoy or representative or an ambassador from that world, from that realm, to tell people with the flapping of my moving mouth parts, this is how you get there. And I teach a whole class all about it so that you can get there. And you made a really good point. Again, no offense to PewDiePie, we love you, and this is critical information. We would love more people to know about it. So the answer is really like, the status quo, the powers that were, they really suppressed me a lot. Like they have, or have up until this point, like, making it more difficult for people to find, like my videos usually don't show up in like recommended videos and things like that. So mostly my videos are shared directly to people in my class.
And I'm subscribed and they don't even show up. And I'm subscribed. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So it's why it is so helpful when you reached out to me. I was like, yes, I would love to do a video. I would love to collaborate, because this is literally one of the only ways that I've been able to share my ideas with the world. I've had my own video series, my own radio series. The way that I reach out to other people is by going on their shows, so that, because it's like the human mycelium, like, these little networks of consciousness that people are connected to one another. So if I'm able to connect with your network, then I can put the seed for a new idea into the garden. And that's what I'm here doing. None of this is about me like controlling anybody else or anybody else's behavior. I want to offer options. Like, here is an option. Here's a new idea. Here's a new seed you can plant in your garden. Take it or leave it. Like, I'm totally not forcing you to do anything. I think that also really represents the value system that I am part of and that my non-terrestrial beings are part of. Like, we're not like oppressors. We're not here to force you to do anything. It's not like some clank metal spaceships that are like, I'm going to shoot you with my ray gun. You better do what I want to do. It's not like that at all. It is way more of an invitation to be a great musician. And like, even if you're not that great right now, join the band. We'll help you to become better.
Did you came here to like give people a chance to use this, or what was your decision to come here to this crazy place? Like,
exactly it. That's exactly it. I created this shape in a higher dimensional state, and I didn't have to make the choice to come here into an actual physical body and tell humans about it by, let's say, making words about it or making sculptures. Like, I could have just stayed as an abstract, disembodied being, and humans would have learned about this, but in a very indirect way. Like, somebody would have discovered it, somebody would have made a painting of it, somebody would have done something. It would have, eventually come into human consciousness. However, it's not in human consciousness. I'm sorry if I misspoke. It would have come into human consciousness anyway. I decided in my moment, I'm like, it's not good enough for just to be like, okay, they'll find out about it somehow, some way. I'm like, I'm going to go there and specifically teach them the recipe. Like, I wanted to teach everyone the recipe for lasagna so that it wouldn't get lost in the shuffle, or take a million years. Imagine if you could have had this idea, like, but it just took a million years and then everybody had to suffer for a very long time. So I'm like, no, I wanted the direct transmission. So that's why I had to do all the challenging work of having a body, being articulate, putting this into words and images and things that I could use to connect with humans so that humans could know about this directly. Like, save you a lot of time and trouble on your recipes. Here's how you actually do it. And then you don't have to, have so much difficulty.
What about like, this is pretty, for most people, it's far out. Like, they hear, oh, she's an alien. get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm
Right.
done. Oh, flying rainbow lasagna, really? Give me a break. Like, what the F is that some gay food restaurant edition? Is this like Italian food on LSD? Are you crazy? You know, I'm not wasting my time with this. I'm going to um yeah, of course, I'm going to Tony Robbins. Rah, rah. Let's hustle and make some more millions. And then I'm going to be happy, right? When I'm a millionaire. Been there,
Right.
done that. That's why I know the whole thing. That's how they sell it. I've done it all. Well, just problem is, doesn't give you happiness. So it's like, it's like, very well sold as a great sales story, and it totally fits with this whole you know, the whole cultural narrative, the brainwashing, the materialistic chase. And then we end up thinking, oh yeah, I'm this Dorothy, I need to see the wizard because I need his help, and if I don't get his help, I'm fucked. But the thing is, I'm trying to say this, well, first of all, fuck the wizard, okay? You don't need the wizard, and you
Cool.
don't need to be on the yellow big road, and you don't need none of that shit, because you are built out of home, Dorothy. You are made out of home, okay? If you just could, like, get your eyes, get your head out of your ass, like I'm saying, and really wake the fuck up, then you would realize you are home. You don't need to go home. You are made out of home. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to be on the yellow brick road, and you don't definitely need to see the wizard. And this society is, oh, we need to see the wizard. The wizard is great. Let's make some more money. And it's like, no, the wizard is a sweaty old man behind the curtain, pushing the buttons, making smoke and fire. And this hologram, look, I'm the great Wizard of Oz. It's like, no, you're not. You're just a sweaty old man pushing the buttons. Get the fuck out of here. You know, it's like, when is this happening?
Yes. I love your description so much about being home, being made of home, that you don't have to go anywhere external. It's not like going on some super giant quest. I mean, I will speak to all of your points also about like the unbelievability of being an embodied alien and calling this thing flying rainbow lasagna. Like, I'm clearly a cultural outsider. You know, I didn't come up with like a very easy, cool, scientific sounding name for this shape. And I named it, you know, in the moment of innovation, like as a disembodied being, as a non-embodied being. So I said, it's flying in the sky, it's rainbow colored. And I said lasagna because it's, you know, curly like the edge of a lasagna noodle. So I did not think about how difficult that might be for humans to perceive. It might be hard to remember. It might be a very long thing to have to write over and over and over. I didn't think about any of those things. So you can kind of understand like the innocence or naivete. I'm a stranger in a strange land. Clearly, I'm like a fish out of water or a foreigner. I don't quite know how things. So like, here's another example. I wanted to talk about this shape with people and tell them it's about the combination of spirit and matter. Right? So I thought maybe I would name it like this new form of matter could be called spatter, like spirit and matter. But I'm talking to people about, they're like, no, don't call it spatter. No one will like that name. But it's like, you know, I come up with these, they sound silly to other people, but they make sense to me because, you know, I'm not from around here, and maybe my mind is a little bit more linear, straight ahead. So you know, to understand more about me being a cosmic visitor or a walk-in, a galactic being, here's what you need to understand.
Go ahead.
DNA is like an antenna. Just like your antenna for your radio or your TV can be tuned to different radio stations and pick up different broadcasts, your DNA can do the same thing. And your DNA also has a particular song, a particular melody. That's the song of you. But the same strings of the same piano can play a different song, and you can have a different song. So your body right now is playing your unique melody. That is the song of you. But with those same strings of your DNA, you can play a different melody. And that is what happened in this body, that the original being, the original person or soul or ego or consciousness, whatever word you want to use for it, was playing their song with this body. They had a physical metabolic death. And it's actually a very sad story. Like, you know, it's not a happy story at all. Like, it's very sad that, you know, they were killed and they had a brain injury. And I made the Flying Rainbow Lasagna and the music of this body make a different song. So I play a different song with the same strings, with the same instrument, but I'm different. And so this is the idea of what a walk-in is. And there's different types of walk-ins. Like, sometimes they are other humans, like that they might have lived before and that now they have died and they are, looking for the human experience again. I'm not a human that jumped into this body, so I had to learn that there's different types of walk-ins. So I'm a galactic walk-in. So I'm usually an abstraction, like a bunch of light and colors, not a person who's in a body with a mouth and eyes. Like, this is very new to me. So, I have had a steep learning curve and a lot to learn about human society and social dynamics. But basically, I had to change the DNA of this container so that I, as energy, could come into it and speak through this human container. That's what it means to be a walk-in. That's what it means to be a galactic walk-in. And I don't travel in a metal spaceship. This is how experts do star travel. So if you, as a scientist, are only looking for a fossil record, an artifact that is like a metal thing that's in the fossils, you're not going to find one of my vehicles because they're not fossilized. They're energy. This is how I came into this body, using an energy form. So that's also like the level of sophistication. If you want to talk with the most sophisticated extraterrestrials in the cosmos, the ones that are good musicians, they don't have to use technology. They're just really good opera singers. You're not going to find their amplifiers and microphones because they don't need them. They just sing. You get it? So those are my bandmates. That's my symphony. That's who I sing with. And I'm kind of their representative here because I'm able to interface. You can see me, you can hear my voice, you know that I'm talking to you. It can be hard to hear them, especially with all of the constant mental chatter and distractions and need to survive in the world that we are in right now. Like MINIMAN spoke so eloquently about being impinged upon at all times by advertising, media, people talking to you, internal thoughts, external thoughts, all these different things. And that it makes it so difficult. Like, yes, I spend as much time as I can, like in a peaceful place in nature, like walking my dog in a beautiful, peaceful place in nature. Like, that is how you kind of get away from that. It's incredibly challenging to be here. And these are also unprecedented times. So anybody who is some magical, whatever, like some guru or whatever from another time, they didn't have to go through what we are having to go through now. So just keep that in mind. Like, you are a very badass warrior just for making it through these difficult conditions right now, because those guys hundreds of years ago didn't even have to deal with that. And we're dealing with it amazingly well, heroically. So you're noble and heroic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And the same for you. I mean, this sounds plenty challenging.
Yeah, it really is.
This was not a walk in the park, but trying to have some new ideas here. It's like you said, you already, like, you're here, but you are also there. Like, you're at the same time or something like that. And
totally.
And there's is that like, I don't know how that's possible, but maybe that's not important. But
I can describe it more. I'm concurrent. So my experience is not linear. Linear would be like saying, first I was there and then I was here and then I'll go back there. Concurrent means that I am there at the very same time that I'm here. So I'm doing all of that usual stuff. It's kind of like, if you can imagine, like I'm juggling all of the usual, bowling pins that I'm juggling on a higher dimensional level. And I'm also in this body right now. My consciousness is focused here, moving my vocal cords and, doing social expression with you. But at the very same time, I'm still keeping all of those things juggling up there. So when I do my Flying Rainbow Lasagna meditation, I, instead of focusing on this stuff that I'm doing right now, focus on this stuff. I focus on all of the higher dimensional juggling. So, I sit comfortably in a chair. I put on awesome headphones. I put on, really good music. I get into a higher dimensional state. And then I come back to focusing on my physical body. So all of these parallel experiences are happening at the same time, and they interrelate. The things the patterns that I'm creating here in physical reality are reflected in the blueprint patterns of the non-physical world, and then the work that I do there. Because in the non-physical world, like let's say there's an event, you see, like in the musical score, you see a black dot is written on the music, right? That represents a note that you don't like. It's like, oh, I don't like that note. Let's move it. Let's erase it. Let's get that thing out of there that I don't like. So a lot of the work that I do in the higher dimensions is like that. I can see the events happening and I can see myself interacting with them. I'm like, oh, that looks like crap. Erase that. That doesn't look good in the painting. Choose a new color, like write something different. So, and I do a lot of this, and it's totally beyond the mind. It is not part of the mind. So I'm doing that level of, let's say, processing, like being a computer using your RAM, even though I'm not a transhumanist at all. It's an analogy, like I'm processing on a high level. And then I'm also at times processing on a mundane level where I got to go to the grocery store and buy toilet paper. And I use that as an actual literal example from my life because I was in this grocery store like 2 years ago. I had just moved to this new area and I was exploring a new one. And I'm literally buying toilet paper with my little shopping cart. And this lady came over to me and she said, "You are dancing through the DNA of everybody in this store." And I kind of looked around like, I can't believe you recognize that. And we had this wonderful conversation. I haven't met her again. It was so random, but she totally saw what was going on. And we had a wonderful connection. I told her all about Flying Rainbow Lasagna and what this is. Like, she has a lot of insight that she was using her higher dimensional perception to see what was going on. So she could see there's the mundane level of reality, buying toilet paper in the store, but on the non-mundane level at the very same time, my energy is dancing with all of these other people in the store. And I'm also dancing with trees, with microbes, with birds, with the planet herself. It's a giant symphony. So you're all invited to be a part of this symphony. That's like my big emphasis here, is that it's not just something cool for me. This is not just some cool, my own personal, hobby that I get to do. It's like, no, this is really something that is amazing and miraculous. And it's good for me. And it's helped me to heal my body. Like, I had a lot of neurological damage in this body. This has helped me to be able to transcend those injuries, because clearly I walk, I talk, I speak, I sing, I paint, like I do all these things. I'm not a vegetable in a coma, which would have been my life if I had not been able to do this level of genetic, like say, rewriting the music. If it's like, oh, you get to be a vegetable in bed. No, I don't want to be in a vegetative state. Erase that music. I don't like that melody. Write a different melody. That is what I did with this body. So I use that as an example. Yeah.
Let me get that straight. So I could also learn this, if I'm getting this right, to like travel, like not travel, like look into the future and then like have these different options or these timelines, and then I can like decide which one I want to do or which one I want to experience.
Yes.
This is possible for you and for me potentially too.
Yes, it is definitely possible for anybody has the potential to do this. It's what we were made to be able to do. Like when we get manufactured cars, they have a windshield and a steering wheel, and you're supposed to be able to see where you're going and actually direct your course. So we have these vehicles right now that have like a broken windshield that you can't see properly, and there's the steering wheel's not functioning properly, and there's even like a backseat driver that's like constantly trying to, jerk your car off the wheel and make you, drive off the road.
Stealing gas out of the tank.
It's making it very, very difficult for us to go on like our Sunday joyride here. So, yes. So, what I've been able to do with this is find ways to, let's say, rearrange the raw ingredients of reality into better potential experiences. And I do that for my own life, but I also recognize our lives are intertwined. So let's use you and me as an example. Like before we interacted with one another, I live in California, you live in Germany. We are literally on opposite ends of the planet, and we did not have a direct interaction, even though we're both on the same planet. So if there was something that blew up or a nuclear war, it would affect both of us. But once we started interacting, all of these probability fields changed. Because all of a sudden, if you do or say something, you're affecting me much more directly. And if I do or say something, like if I give you a new idea, I'm affecting you much more directly too. So then you start to see, wait a minute, I'm not just flying on my own little trajectory here. You're flying next to me, and we are affecting one another, even the direction that we go. So like, let's say if you have a friend who might be super depressed and they're kind of like spiraling downward, you can have a conversation with them that literally changes their trajectory. Like if you can say the thing that they need to hear, they can stop, being so upset and sad and grieving and go in a different direction. That's like how our lives are intertwined. And you can have the opposite effect too. Like I've had people in my life who tried to do this, people who tried to curse me literally and say something like, you'll never be an artist. You'll never sell a painting. Like they wanted to make me fly down in a spiral. And they wanted to do that because we were intertwined together. So of course I didn't believe them. Clearly I'm an artist. And also I disentwined. I don't talk with those people anymore because I don't want them to give me that energy of pushing me onto timelines I don't want to be onto. So a big part is as you begin to consciously change your trajectory through time. Choose carefully who you have around you. Who are you flying with? Because your energy fields are intertwined. So who do you interact with on a daily basis? Who do you share ideas with? Are these people uplifting you and helping you to keep going on your journey? Or do they try to push you down and make you spiral down and tell you the world is shit, pardon my French, that nothing will ever be better, that you will just die horribly, that there's going to be a nuclear war? I know a lot of people that are on that trip, and I try to tell them, like, no, you can imagine a better possible future. That's it. We can help one another to imagine a better possible future. So when someone is really depressed, it's almost like they are starving for a nutrient that they don't have, and you can give them vicariously some of your nutrition. You can say, no, the future actually has great possibilities in it, like blah, blah, blah. And so, like, if someone thinks that there's going to be a nuclear war, I try to give them plant a better seed for a better future than nuclear war. I say, that doesn't have to happen. Blah, blah, blah can happen instead. And we need to all be doing this. We need to all be working together consciously to co-create a better experience of our social dynamics and our economy on this planet, and even what our planet is in relation to everything else that's out there. Because we're not supposed to be lonely and isolated here. We're supposed to be connecting to all of the other life forms that are in existence. P.S. We're not the only life forms in existence, to anybody who thinks, in that very scientific way, like that there's no life on other planets. Like, is there life on Mars? There's life on Mars. There's life everywhere. There's life all over the world. Yes. So being able to recognize that.
Okay, we got to talk about that too. But
okay,
first,
good.
Like, I have a little trouble understanding here. Like, isn't there a way? Like, I don't know. This is the perfect Indigo child programming. Yeah, it's like I'm really thinking, how can we make this on a massive scale? Like, why not get more support from your dimension? They tell them to get their ass in gear. We need backup. We need support. If they can invade these asshole aliens, if they can invade us, well, then we can also get an army of lasagnas here. Okay, let's let those positive people, or these positive whatever beings, invade this planet on a massive scale. Let's talk to fucking the rah-rah people, like T. Harv Eker and the Tony Robbins and the list goes on. Let's talk to fucking PewDiePie. I mean, let's get these people on board with a lot of followers. And just like, I mean, this is not like, oh, we're trying to steal business from you. No. This is like, Tony, stop brainwashing people that they need to become millionaires to be happy.
Exactly.
Teach them something more efficient.
Yeah.
Who are you, mini-man? What do you got? Well, I got the flying rainbow lasagna. Oh, really? Click. Hello. It's like, like I'm like, it's like I'm going full crazy here. Like, I know this is totally just imagine. Let's just have fun. But
but let me speak to what you were saying. So I'm the first lasagna that not invaded, but came in. We would all love to come in. All the lasagna energy would love to come into this world. The answer is, you individual humans need to be the containers or doorways through which this energy comes. It comes through on your genetic level. So I'm already here as a musician and a dancer, and I'm sending out my waveforms. And it's up to you to listen and internalize those waveforms and begin doing your own dance in response. That you get to be dancing the lasagnas too. And this is really huge because it has to do with that those occupiers of the interstices, the parasites that invaded. They are run by a type of AI, and a machine-based intelligence that is excellent at calculating but not good at innovating. And my collective, and who I am, is all about innovation. And humans are also incredibly powerful because of your capacity to create and innovate. So that's why I'm inviting as many humans as possible to learn how to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna. You innovate your own new genetic patterns. I don't tell you what to do. That's a big thing. If you're like, wait, Aurora's invading and she's telling me what to do, blah, blah. No, not at all. I'm giving you a tool that you can use to write your own music. So you can borrow my music if you want to. You can do a cover song. You can do Stairway to Heaven. You can do something that someone else wrote. But what I really want you to do is write your own music. So that's it. This is totally a tool for freedom. And the more people that do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, the more variables that are coming up, the more confounding it is to this AI. The AI is like, I don't know what the heck to do because all of these new things keep popping into existence. And the new things are realities that you imagine and project and manifest as a person dancing Flying Rainbow Lasagna.
I'm totally convinced if we could sell it right, Tony would get it. He would get it. He's
Good.
the guy. He's open to everything. I mean, he's an amazing guy. He has an amazing attitude. You know,
Right?
I'm not talking down on him at all. If people were 5% like Tony, we wouldn't have a problem. Okay, so just let me get this super straight here. If he would get it, he would teach it because you know he's in his bubble too. You know, and other people with huge audiences. I mean, PewDiePie. Who knows? You know, just reach out to those people. DM them on Instagram. Just keep doing that. We have the opportunity now. You know, the show is going down. Like this is already like cracks in the curtain, and the whole thing is coming down. So we gotta move pronto. And
yes, I would love to connect with some of the people that you mentioned that have a large audience. And also, if you're an individual person, it's so helpful if you see my video, if you just share it with friends or people that you know directly. Like that is another way of sharing these ideas. Oh, I love you, MINIMAN. You are so wonderful for bringing me on your podcast and doing the video that you did on Instagram. Like these are how my ideas spread because like I said, I'm not a corporate person at all. Like I'm not paying for advertising and YouTube hits. Like people can buy YouTube views. Like, do you know this at this point? So I didn't do anything like that. Everything about me is very just, I have integrity and I'm just without a lot of machinations. I'm just trying to get information out there. And I do it through art. I also do it through music. So one of the things that I did in April of this year was I have a whole series of animations that are based on Flying Rainbow Lasagna that show how the energy patterns move. And I make them move in time to music. And I did my own original music that is layered compositions that are tuned to 432 hertz. So imagine like if you saw a video of me with all these projections of my artwork on me while you're also listening to these complex sound patterns. And the whole idea is that it's meant to give you, you know, this experience, this uplifting experience. What is it like to actually do the dance? It's awesome. It's fun. It is not toil and drudgery. It is the most easy and fun part of my day. I turn off my ego and my mundane concerns for a little bit, and then I get into this higher dimensional state. And it is a super joyous cosmic dance party. So I encourage everyone, like you would like to feel this feeling too, but it's not from the perspective like you know, little earthly embodied Aurora. You really expand, you dilate your identity and you become the entire cosmos that is dancing together. And it's a wonderful experience. So it's not difficult. It's not toil and drudgery. It's kind of like when you get really good at playing the piano and you are grooving in your wonderful musical expression, but it just takes a little bit of practice to be able to get to that point of being like really groovy.
I mean, it could be like if I would be a superstar, I'm also doing rap music and stuff, but I'm focusing on Polaroid music, Polaroid art right now, and I'm not really getting the stuff out fast enough, and I'm struggling with saving the planet too. You know, how well is that going? Well, it isn't. You know, and I mean, I think like I don't know. I'm still thinking like we could. This could become a subculture. This could become cool overnight if people like you know in the you know music industry or stuff. I mean, I know what's going on there. Like everything is so corrupted. But if just a couple of people would just you know dance this dance in a music video, and people don't even understand what it is, but they just imitate it, they just do it, and then they just do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna without even understanding it. But they don't need to because it still works, right? And then this becomes like a movement. No,
I definitely wish to have a movement. each person's dance must be unique to them. So people can get inspired by my dance, but they can't copy me exactly because my DNA is my pattern, your DNA is your pattern. Like I use the example, like to get onto my computer, like I have to use a thumbprint. I have to put my thumbprint on there because it's unique to me. So no one else is able to steal all of my information out of my computer because they don't have my unique pattern. So Miniman, you have your unique pattern and also your unique life trajectory, like where you were born, all the things that happened to you, and you're now here in the time field. So you need to be doing that from your perspective. I'm down here in the time field, so I need to be dancing from over here. So every person has to modify what this dance is from their personal life experiences and also what they desire to express. So I use this as a very silly example. Like you might have seen my little dog running around in the background. She does the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance too. She's a very magical little dog. She does it too. What she manifests are what do dogs want? They want like fried wontons. She's manifested a fried wonton, hot dogs, waffles, like all these types of junk food, ice cream. I don't have that stuff in my house. Like I eat only like really simple, like healthy organic food. So if she wants to eat this junk food, she's got to find it somehow. So she does the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance and she manifests her dreams, like to eat a mini hot dog, to eat these different tastes. So what is your version of the mini hot dog? What is your version of the fried wonton, the thing that you want so much? Like, something, I'm not yet in a museum. I would love that. That would be a dream come true. Like, to have my artwork recognized at that level. That's my fried wonton. And I am dancing closer and closer to that reality, right? Or whatever is your personal, like I'm sharing a little bit with that, like whatever is your personal fulfillment, your desire. If you want to run a 100-mile marathon, or if you want to, build something amazing, that is Flying Rainbow Lasagna. You continually refine your trajectory and dance towards that unique expression. Oh, but I'm not supposed to run 100 miles. I'll just tell you, that's not my job. Somebody else's job. But I know someone who does that.
Let me just pick up on what you said about your art, because I already sent you like a video on Instagram, and
yes.
I totally want to put this on the record, to say this again in public, and also to be able to say, well, I told you so. So be right in the future. Mm-hmm. Well, I already told you this, so this is straight up coming from me. The way I see it, I think I'm a good artist myself. I think I studied this stuff enough. I think I'm awake enough to understand what art is, because art is something that is actually alive. It is not something that is dead in a museum behind glass. Okay. And this is what the art historians don't understand. Ask me how I know, because I studied with them for over 2 years. They're not getting anything. And I know this is maybe a little bit exaggerated, but hey, the way I see this, your art is it's so good and so unique that it deserves a place in art history, period.
Thank you.
And since I don't have the Guggenheim or the MoMA behind me, I'm just going to say this on behalf of this planet, because I'm capable. Well, you're gonna, I have a diploma and a Master of Arts, so I'm officially allowed to say this. I'm qualified enough to say this. I have the credentials to fucking say this. Who need this? You absolutely rightfully so deserve the place in art history. And here's why. Because you can't call it art if you don't have anything to say. And you have plenty to say. And this is a visual expression of a very specific message, and that you also explain very specifically. So this is very easily verifiable, and this has not been done before. There has been great painters like Van Gogh, and we know them all, but there's new stuff coming that is very different and is changing consciousness. And this is what art is supposed to do. Art is supposed to be something that is alive and that has a message that is such a condensed form of life. It's like life in a small pill that everybody can swallow. Yeah. And then it transforms you like LSD. It was like, oh, whoa, I never felt this before. Yay, let's go fucking crazy. And this is what art is. And I know this because I'm an artist, and I know this because I've done the work. I've put in the work to find out what art is, because I said to myself, okay, I can't be an artist if I don't know what's the truth and I don't know what's art. Because if I would, it would be cheating. I would pretend to be an artist, but I don't know the fundamentals. And that's what's truth. That's what's art. And then I started to do art. And you already come in with plenty of knowledge of what's true and what's art and what is right there behind the wall is probably the best art there is on the planet right now. This has not been done by anybody. This probably will never be done by anybody like this in this quality. So I hereby, on behalf of this world, give you this place in art history. And I tell you why I'm so confident to say this. Because I've struggled myself with a lot of, lack of getting feedback or getting content. Everybody's telling me, oh, there's no money in art and blah and blah and blah and blah. And it really damaged my understanding of, am I a good enough artist? Is this really art? And it took me 15 years to see my Polaroids that I did in the year 2000 to see, dude, this is art. This is good enough. Give me a fucking break. And the images didn't change, but my perception changed. And now I know. And now I know, and I'm confident enough to say this. And I'm saying this to you so absolutely clear, loud and clear, that nobody can misunderstand it. Because we as artists, we never get the recognition we deserve. Yes. The problem is nobody can give it to us. It's not that we don't get it because we don't deserve it. We don't get it because it's not possible that anybody else can give it to us, because nobody understands what we do good enough to give it to us. I think I do. And this is why I'm giving it to you. And I'm 100%, I'm not like a little bit certain, I'm 100% sure that what I say is correct. It is because I say so, and I say so because I know. And I'm giving this recognition and this respect to you because you deserve it, and you probably can't give it to yourself, and you deserve that somebody else is giving it to you. And I wish somebody gave it to me, and I'm giving it to you. So it's clear. It's crystal clear once and for all, and nobody can change that, and nobody can say, oh, no. Let's have a discussion about, let's ask the MoMA, let's ask the Guggenheim, let's ask the experts, and let's get them, oh, they checked off. Yeah, but we're not having enough agreement in the art world if lasagna is really the bomb. Like, you institutions, I love you, I love the Guggenheim, but you can straight fuck off, okay? I'm not playing along with this. I'm not complying. I'm not waiting for you to get approved, and then maybe MINIMAN gets the place in the big Guggenheim. It's the same bullshit with Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and I can see it, and I'm not doing it. Yeah. So what I'm doing, I'm gonna like just do this without any of these institutions. I don't need a museum. I don't need a gallery. I'm just going to make enough money to build my own museum. And then I'm going to put my own art in my own museum and sell tickets to the tourists right next to the fucking Guggenheim. This is how to do this. And this is what I would recommend to you. If I don't get the money, well, then that's that. But that's the plan. And if I have the money, you'll get a special room just for your art, okay? And maybe you get enough money to build your own museum, and get the qualified people on board who can verify everything I just said, and they get yes, I agree, real art. There you go, and this is how this works. We have to empower ourselves.
Yes,
unapologetic.
Yes,
and I'm saying this with no hate in my heart.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on anybody. That's all I got. Like, I hope.
Let me just say, I'm so honored by what you said. Like, because that type of praise and enthusiasm from an artist to another artist means a lot. Like, what it takes to make a painting, like the inspiration and the time and the dedication to it. You know all about that. So I'm so honored and appreciative of what you just said, truly. And I hope it didn't come out wrong from me, because I really agree with you that the existing art structure has issues, that there are distortions and corruptions. So just being famous on the existing art structure or being accepted does not necessarily validate your art. But what I love your approach, saying like you will just build your own, personal museum and do it that way if the existing structure doesn't accept you. I would like to be accepted within the existing art history structure, because I feel like I could reach a lot of people. That when I make these paintings, I don't make them like just to be in my own private studio, or the idea of just selling them to some wealthy person that keeps it in their private.
Don't sell
room.
it.
No, I don't want it to.
Don't sell it.
No. I want
it's
it to
be scattered everywhere. It's going to land in a safe and nobody can ever see it again.
Totally. That's the antithesis of my intention, because I made all of these as like chapters of a book that I want to display to people as a cohesive whole. So that's where I'm going with all of this. And yeah, I've been working in this vein for more than 10 years. So I have made it somehow without selling off my panels to this point, because sometimes like you're an artist, you're kind of month to month, you don't know where you're going to get money from. I never sell off my panels for cheap. Yes, because that's being an artist in this world. We totally understand. So, I do sell originals, but usually they're smaller pieces. So I have all the larger ones that are like the chapters of this book. And it's my intention to be able to display them and to use that as a way to teach and inspire and uplift humanity. So it's meant to be something that people can look at, not something that's hidden away in a safe or only for the elite. So yeah, and I would love to be able to be in a museum, because museums are supposed to be the commons. They're supposed to be for the people, even though now mostly you have to pay a ticket fee, but it's supposed to be art that is accessible for people to be able to go in and be inspired and, be uplifted. And that's, so, I do a lot also with sharing my work online. I have some things, if you want to, because we're doing a video, I actually prepared some artwork if you want me to.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Absolutely. Go ahead. But you can sell like prints. You
I have
high quality prints.
Totally. I have a print service if anybody is interested in any of my work. And I also do printed clothing. And the reason why I do the clothing is specifically so that people who aren't millionaires can still have these patterns and this beauty in their world. So I do stuff like casual wear, and I also do stuff like placemats for your table. Like, I really think about this because I'm not an elite person. I'm not like this snobby person that only wants it to be for special people. I want lasagna and this energy to be accessible to as many people as possible. So I have a few little things. I'm doing a little screen share, if that's okay. I'll share. Thank you so much, and be able to show. So here is a panel. This is called Vessel, and it is most of these larger ones are 4 feet on a side, so 48 inches by 48 inches. And this is all done by hand. It is not computer generated, and it might be a little bit hard to see in these images, but there's a lot of raised dimensional effects like bubbles and kind of different paint textures that are more than just flat paint. And this particular pattern is a collection of several different Merkabahs or star tetrahedra combined together, like in that harmonic energy field, like what I was talking about. And these paintings over here are the smaller versions. So there's 2 different versions that I did that are kind of like the chapters leading up to that big chapter that I just showed you. So all of this is like a story. Like we start off with this one over here, then we lead up to this one, then we go to the one that you just saw. It kind of tells a story to the viewer. And then I also have a lot of imagery like this that is more, I almost call it like a diagrammatical, showing you really accurately as possible the structures of the harmonic time field around the body. So I try to make my work beautiful and decorative, but also it's informative. So I also would really like to connect with scientists and mathematicians and academics, because I have information for the people of this time and place. I'm not just making pretty pictures.
Exactly right. And you know what this is reminding me of? It's reminding me of probably the second most impressive exhibition that I went to. It was in the Riedberg Museum in Zurich, Switzerland, and they had an exhibition from Tibetan those tankas.
Yes.
And from the 12th century until the 16th century on 2 floors, like so many of them, and that's really like art. how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be beautiful, but it's actually not really about beautiful. It's a teaching material. It's for teaching purposes. This is what art is supposed to be.
You totally got it. All of the paintings that I do, I make with the intention of making them accurate. Just the same way that someone might write a doctoral thesis. Like, I'm going to have to stand up there and say, I made this red because of this. I made this orange because of this. Like, there's a very coherent logic and a language, actually. This is all language of vibration behind the patterns that I make. So none of these are just arbitrary color choices or arbitrary choices of form. And I'm always trying to be as accurate as I can be in, doing this portrayal. And then I'm also an artist at heart. So I want to make these beautiful and symmetrical and balanced. And, and also there's an emotional resonance. Like, when you're an artist, you're making something that is evocative intentionally. And I've had people come into my studio, like one was in like this old grizzled guy, like a man, like, because most men are not that connected to their emotions. And he walked in and he just started tearing up because he was looking at all of these paintings and he felt something so profound inside. And like, that is a lot, to know that something that I made was filled with truth and beauty, and that it made a profound emotional connection, even with someone who might not usually, be so emotional. So that's why I do it.
See, this is the proof. This is the proof, because it happened to me also. That was the most impressive exhibition for me, from Pippi Lodgerist. That's a Swiss video artist. And I started crying looking at her video installation. That was in the year 1999. And that opened my eyes to what art is after studying for over 2 years and not getting it. And then I could see it. And then I could see the beauty that is like behind the images, or they're in between the images. It's not really visible, but it's there. And it was so strong. And that's what I mean by art is something that is alive. And that's the proof it is. And that it's the proof that that your stuff is real art, because the man started crying because he was able to sense this aliveness.
That's right.
So that's the proof.
Completely. And most of my work I make without using a computer or digital assistance in any way. However, so this paint, like you're looking right here at a sculpture that I made for a math conference that I brought these concepts to. So I made this sculpture by hand and I did it as accurately as I could. But then you'll also see on this part of your screen over to the other side, this is an animation that I worked with an animator to create. So it's not drawn by hand, but what I did was first I drew pictures by hand and then sent them to the animator, who then put it into a digital format, and I described the motion that I wanted. So this is more along the lines of a collaboration. I don't want you to think that I'm anti-technology, because it can be used in a wonderful way to express these truths, but I'm really pretty old-fashioned in my own work. I paint on a panel that I make from the hardware store. I use like little tiny brushes that have real hairs from a sable on it. Like, I mix my own paints. Like, I'm very, old school in that sense, but I'm also working with some digital music and some digital animations like this, because I think that it's wonderful. Like, it can be used to express truth in a different way. So I've got these animations, and like I was saying, I've been working on like visualizations, like the type of thing that you might see. I'll go back to my face, that you might see at a rave or a festival or a party. Like, those are fun, but they're largely unconscious. They're just kind of cool shapes and cool things. So what I created was a slideshow, and the way that it moves together and everything is actually informative. And it's meant to take the viewer on a journey. I'm trying to teach people in a fun, uplifting way. And that's what my class is like too. Like, you learn math, but not like in a boring type of dry way.
Let me give you my idea that I'm going to do when I get a little bit more financially in a better situation. I'm going to make a virtual museum. VR.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
because
it.
art is going VR right now.
Yes, completely.
Yeah. And you can make like a VR version. Like, you can outsource that. You don't need to learn it because it's crazy complicated, but there are plenty of experts who know how to do this, and they can make a VR version of your lasagna. And
oh my God, I would love that.
Yeah. And then people can put on this, and they can actually see it. And you can also teach it, make a VR teaching class.
That would be amazing, because what everybody needs to know is that this moves and that there's energy that actually circulates in patterns around it. So I explain that with my voice in my class, but it's so much more direct. This would be a wonderful teaching, to use virtual reality for educational purposes. And that's also what it's like when you see with your own inner vision. You'll see this, but you won't have to have a narrator telling you in your ears. You will just know what are all the things that you're looking at. Like, it's an inner knowing. So we're on the journey to that, but we're not there yet. I love your virtual museum. And also, they're doing this pretty cool stuff. I think it's in France. It is a digital projection museum where they might take the work of Klimt or Van Gogh and project it onto different ways, like to digitize it. And it's a very creative way of presenting it. And I would be open to showing my artwork in that way too, because there's all of these different harmonic visual structures that fit together in interesting ways. It could be projected on a giant mountainside. It could be projected on a cathedral. It would be amazing to do that.
Yeah, and I even got another great idea. There's this is going to be amazing. We need to get some money on board.
Yeah, money.
Or maybe we should have listened to Tony. We need to become millionaires.
If you took Tony Robbins' class and you're a millionaire, call us. We need your investment. We're doing a cool art project.
Yeah, and then you can join the flying rainbow lasagne, flying rainbow lasagne movement. But here's the idea: there's holographic technology of it, like. The military uses it already, and it's very, very sophisticated. Like they're doing it to cloak or to disguise secret facilities, and they are able to do it in a way that there's like a mountain, and then this used to be a road. Like I'm walking here for 20 years, and now this road ends. There's a mountain, and then you touch it, and then it's like. There is a mountain. So it's like holographic in a way that it appears to us, to the sense, as solid. It's like a solid mountain, but it's actually a hologram. And they disguise secret facilities so people can't access it. We're not going to get advanced technology like this, but it's very, very advanced now. And we can do a holograph projection of the lasagna, and people can be in a room and they can actually see how it moves, very tangible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm working on other projects too that are about what I would say almost painting with my voice, like where I would sing, and as that tone is emitted, it's picked up by a microphone that then translates it into a color and then gets projected as, a portion of this. And then as I sing the next note, the next color gets projected. So that's actually an ongoing project. It's something that I've been gestating for many years, and I'm just now starting to work together with like the actual software engineers to make it happen. But wow. Yeah. Oh, yes, exactly. This is like using technology for the forces of good so that, if we don't get a complete AI takeover, we can keep on having technology and use it in these cool art and music paths. But if there's some kind of a problem where you just have to like turn it all off, then turn it all off. You're not losing that much, and you will just paint things by hand. That's kind of my approach to things.
I mean, your paintings by hand are just absolutely perfect. I mean, it's just so super fresh. I mean, really.
And that's like the easiest part of my day. If I just had to like do paintings, I would be very like, I would have no stress. Life would be easy. Doing stuff like the banking is hard. Like, the integrating with regular society is the hard stuff. I know you can relate. Like if you just had to paint all day, I'm sure your life would be very easy too. Like just put on awesome music on your headphones, have plenty of, paint and supplies, and also good light. I gotta have good light to be able to see what I'm doing. And then I'm just like, that's all I need to do.
I mean, like I'm developing and I'm working on myself since I got pretty lucky. I got into therapy by accident when I was 17 because I needed to prove to my school that I can graduate because they thought I'm too stupid to do that. So I gave them those two birds and still did it successfully, but I had to get some help. And then I had like a hypnosis therapist. He really like taught me how this whole thing works very quickly. So I got really lucky to get help very, very early on. Right. But my story kind of goes, my slogan is grow or die trying. And this is not like a funny thing to say because it really just sums up my life. I needed to grow in order to survive. It was a necessity. Otherwise, I wouldn't make it. But
Yes.
the thing that I don't really see fair is that even though I worked so much, the world around me is getting like equally challenging, to say
Yes.
it politely.
Yeah.
And now I'm, getting into a better place. Okay, I'm in Berlin. I'm not fighting with depression. I'm off the drugs. And it's like this is so much better now. Like my life has never been better. But like I already said, the situation really looks very, very black. It looks very ugly. And it's just not fair that it's not getting to the point where I can really like, enjoy my life and reap the benefits, because like this whole thing is turning into a giant shit show in the next
Yes.
couple of years. And,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying this, oh, yeah, this is my problem. This is not just my problem. This is everybody's problem. This is the problem of life on this planet. And I just really don't know how to handle the situation. So what can you, because I don't even know what's the proper question to ask you. What can you tell me on the most positive stuff you can tell me how to handle the situation?
Yeah. The first thing is just even understanding the relative context of what we're in. We are in the most difficult time that it is possible to be in. So like I referred to before, like the Buddha from 2,500 years ago, or any of these other gurus, that they lived in a time without so much technology and technological interference of your basic consciousness and your basic waveforms of your mind. So we are in like literally, it's a war. So first of all, like if you liken it to World War II, like at a certain point in World War II, there was not the capacity for you to just like live a happy life, be a little farmer, like grow your chickens. And like, no, there are soldiers invading and huge bombs are being dropped. Like you can't just live your little life because there's a much larger conflict that's going on. That's what it's like for each one of us on earth right now. You might be like, like, I just want to write some songs. I just want to like play my guitar. I just want to live my little life. You can't do that because giant bombs are falling all around you right now. That's huge war or spiritual battle or conflict that is happening on the level of higher dimensions. You would say like spirituality or interdimensionality. People might interpret it through a religious filter, but I'm not a religious person, but you might see it as a struggle between good and evil. That is what is going on right now. So it is, if you're finding it challenging just to do the regular day-to-day affairs of life, of going to your job and paying your bills and everything like that, that's understandable. We're not in a normal time. It's like bombs are falling all the time. Horrible invaders are invading. Nazis are invading all the time. This is World War II. This is what's going on. You can't just expect to go to your regular job and for things to be easy. So this time, like these past 2 decades, pretty much the time that I've been here as a walk-in in this body, have been some of the most difficult, most trying, whatever is the word that you want to use. It's like labor when a woman is going through the contractions of birth. This is that time. It's very painful. It's very difficult. And that women go through this. I haven't given birth myself, but when women are in pregnancy and they're going through the stages of birth, they get to a certain point where they think like, I can't go any further. Like this is never going to happen. Like the baby's never going to come out, and they kind of give up. Like, I think that humanity is going through that now, where it's like, we're trying to get through to another world, to a better world. We're trying to like break on through to the other side. We're trying to transform and have this birth happen. And I think people are like, is it ever going to happen? Are we going to do it? Are we going to make it? You have to, like, that baby being born has to believe. And the baby that's being born in a physical birth, like the head gets squashed, the baby is under incredible levels of duress, mother's under levels of duress, everybody is fully stressed out. That is what we're experiencing right now as a planet, as individuals, as a human society. Like, we know we can't stay in the womb. That would be like staying in the objective materialist viewpoint, continuing to use fossil fuels, continuing to have that whole fear-based society that's based on not having enough of anything. So all of the commodification and competition, that's like being in the womb. That's not what our expansive reality is like. So we're on the move of being born to get into this more expanded reality, where all of a sudden you have more materials available to you, more options, more possibilities, more connection to reality. When you're in a physical baby and you're born, you don't magically gain superpowers, but all of a sudden you can walk around. You can do stuff you couldn't do in the womb. You can eat physical food, and you have to learn how to eat and poop, and you have to learn how to walk. You have to learn how to do these things. So as we are born and transition into this expanded level of reality, It's not like, oh, all of a sudden we have superpowers. We learn how to walk. You learn how to have your higher faculties. You learn how to perceive time. You learn how to speak, or to communicate with, which is not what we're doing right now, is not the level of communication I'm talking about. We're talking about like a telepathic, empathic level of communication. You learn all of that. So we're, as a society and as individuals, we're being born, and it's very painful and it's very difficult. However, there is an actual thing that happens. This is my information is, this isn't going to go on forever. At a certain point, you get born. At a certain point, you come out. So these pressures that we're feeling, we won't feel for forever. And this difficulty, we won't feel for forever. You'll find yourself in the expanded state, and you'll look back on this and say, oh, that was the birth canal. That was really difficult. Like 18 or 20 years of the birth canal. That's really, really hard. But we do make it to the culmination and then have this expanded level of experience. So don't give up. That's my answer.
Okay, so since you are like able to maybe look at different options in the future, what could possibly, what is I mean, I don't know if you can share that or if you want to share that, but can you see what is happening in the next 10 years, or are we going to make it as a species, or?
Sure. The answer is, so I don't make predictions about the future, but I'll tell you, the answer is there are a variety of possible futures. Like saying we're at the train station here and there's all of these trains that move forward and they all go in different directions. So you as an individual on the train get to choose you get to choose which timeline you're going to be on. I said to you, I talked to some people recently, they told me that they thought there was going to be a nuclear war. So they're on that timeline that goes off towards nuclear war. And the truth is, I believe in freedom. I'm not going to take someone and be like, no, get off of that timeline. Don't go on that train, whatever you do. If they're aligning with that reality, I must allow them to do it. But I'm always encouraging people like, no, we can be on this timeline that where we don't have to have nuclear war and we don't have to have some catastrophe like a comet from space or, something, a Carrington event, what people talk about, like that fries all of our electronics. Like we don't have to be suddenly cast back down into the Stone Age, Neolithic times with no technology, and have everybody starve and die. Like we don't have to be on that timeline. We don't have to be on the timeline that's like Mad Max, where, everybody's fighting over resources and you have to be super, whatever, have weapons and guns just in order to survive. No, we don't have to be on that timeline either. And mostly if you are getting to know me and you and your audience are getting to know me now, you get I'm about creativity and joy, and I don't own guns, and I'm not about punching people in the face. I'm going on these timelines that go off in this direction, the timelines where we get to have more and more of our divinity and able to express it in the world. We connect to one another in more and more of a loving and divine way. That means about how we apportion resources, how we share, so I'm in my own life, I'm experiencing this more and more. I call it human family, where even though a person might be not biologically connected as family, we treat each other as family. So it might mean my neighbor's car isn't working. I loan her my car because she's my human family. I would do it for her if she's my sister. She's not my physical sister. I will do it anyway. We are a human family. And I'm treating people in my immediate vicinity more like that. And they're reflecting that back to me. And this is one of the most profound social changes we can do, because it's very different than say oh, you want to borrow my car? Give me $5, give me $10, give me whatever. It's a different thing. But then something, when I needed something from the store, she went out and got it for me. This is the way that we do this. And it is not necessarily a cutthroat capitalism. It's more like a quid pro quo. It's more like wanting to help one another. I have something I can help you with. You can do this for me. That it's a different motivation in society.
But that's pretty rare in my experience.
Yeah, you got to surround yourself with the trusted tribe who can act in that way. Not everybody can act in that way. Some people would be like, oh, I'll borrow your car. Buy, and they steal your car and they take it and they never give it back. That's not a trusted tribe member. So you do this only with the people that have integrity and will reflect.
Yeah, for me, it's very difficult to find these people. I'm the zebra surrounded by sheep. And then it's I try to fit in, and glue some wool on me and go meh, and rehearsal the meh. Don't I sound like a sheep? And then it's just maybe it is, and then something happens, and then they notice, and they say, no, that's not a sheep at all. And then oops, too bad, didn't trick them good enough. So and this is over. It's I'm not playing this game anymore because it's just pointless and it doesn't work anyway. but then I'm still a fucking zebra, you know. And it's
Yes.
just,
I know. I would say, come visit me. We're a lot of zebras over here. You will fit in. It'll be great. But I'm like across the world from you, but still come visit.
Yeah, as the same to you. Definitely. If you come to Berlin, you always have a place to stay. That's for sure. Like,
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I've never been to Germany. I would love to visit there.
Yeah, like come before it's gone. No,
oh, really?
I don't know. I don't know what's going. I mean, what's going on in Europe is crazy, but I don't even want to talk.
It is. I know there's been all sorts of political votes and everything like that, and I think it's tied in with the political turmoil in the United States too. And I tend not to focus on it too much because I think it is an energy drain.
Yeah.
So I focus on the internal journey. But I see when I change internally, I then see events externalized that change as a result of that. So I would encourage everyone, keep on doing the inner transformation because that's how these political fat asses change. Like our music of our telepathy affects these world leaders. This is what you have to understand. Like, you're not just some stupid person that has no power and you just, drive to work in the morning. You are hugely powerful. You are an opera singer sending out your thought vibrations to the entire world, including all these stupid fat ass politicians who then, are influenced by your mind.
Exactly. And the way I see it, like, we don't really have a problem. All these problems could be solved. All this suffering is unnecessary. There is technology from Tesla invented that's over 100 years ago. Give me a break. This is all available. If we want to do this, and the people in power intentionally set this up the way they set it up, and I hope people wake up to the fact that they own this planet and they decide how to run the show, and they think, oh, am I really good enough to take responsibility? No, I need politicians to cover over me. Then I would please think better of yourself. Yes, you are able to take responsibility, but who's going to build the roads if the government doesn't? Well, the government is not building shit. They're just stealing your money and call it taxes. There are companies with actual people who are building the roads, and we can pay the same people. Guess what? It's not rocket science, people.
You got it. Let me use an example. So I live in this community in Southern California where we had a really bad fire about 1.5 years ago. And what happened was there are some natural petroleum deposits outside of town that are kind of like tar that got ignited in the fire. And then even after the fire passed, the petroleum was still smoldering in the ground for a long time. And it made a really bad smoke that's not good for the community to breathe. So the local fire department got in touch with like the FEMA and said, we need blah, blah, there need a chemical retardant to be able to put out this smoldering material. And FEMA was like, we'll get that to you like in a couple of months. And the local fire department was like, F that is bullshit. We are going to get this ourselves right now. So they got the company from New Jersey, put it on a train. Like, the chemical came from a company in New Jersey. They put it on a train. They shipped it out here. It took 3 weeks. And the local fire department applied it and put out the smoldering thing so that we didn't have to breathe that in for like 6 months or however long until the government actually fixed it. So that's one example. And during that entire fire, there were no help from FEMA trailers, none of that. There was no housing. There was nothing like that. Neighbors helped neighbors. People helped each other with garden hoses and backhoes from their own farms and ranches. Like, none of this was help from the federal government. All of it was people helping people. And also local businesses then ended up stepping in, and they donated chainsaws and materials and machinery so that people could, there was a lot of stuff, like people had massive damage. So they needed a lot of help. That is how you fix things. You don't sit around saying, oh, like, I'll sit on my butt and wait for the government to help me. Like, the government ain't going to help you. That's what it's humans helping each other, local volunteers, and corporations that, decided to donate, not the government at all.
Exactly. And that's why I think the whole idea of democracy and voting for politicians who are going to get the work done, I think this is not just stupid, and it's criminal, and it's not true, because they're not sovereign states. They're just companies who pretend to be sovereign states. And this is not some hocus pocus. Oh, he's just a goofy spiritual guy with a beard. No, you can prove this. This is just straight up how this is. Every lawyer who knows his business you can look up these companies in a corporate record. They're in a ledger. Germany is a company that's registered like any other company. You can look that up. That's not. This is on the record.
United States Corporation. I'm sorry.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. And it's everywhere the same problem. And the whole thing. Oh, I'm gonna vote and watch some television. Who's gonna win the election? And they gonna fix my problem. This is just not good enough, people. This is just not waking up. This is just not really getting your head out of your ass. And it is the time now to grow up a little bit, you know? Yeah. And the spiritual thing with the Flying Rainbow Lasagne is like, that's the next step people can, more develop. But if they still, like, if they're stuck on hoping their candidate wins to get their problem solved, they're not going to be ready to hear what you have to offer so they can fix the problem themselves.
Definitely. It's not about externalizing your power on either an external bearded sky god or an external politician. That's like so you got your father in the sky, daddy figure in the sky, or a daddy figure who is elected to a parliament, both of whom tell you what to do. This is completely the antithesis of that. So it is where you are in charge of yourself. And also take great lengths to describe, like, I am not in charge of you. Like, if I were an art teacher, I would not tell you what to paint. If I were a music teacher, I would not tell you what to play. I want to give you the tools to be able to do your own personal expression. So that's my whole idea here with Flying Rainbow Lasagne and reality creation, that it's a tool that you use and you paint what is important to you. So one example is, I have a woman in my class and she lives, I want to say Illinois. It's one of the Central Plains states in the United States. And there's a problem in her community that comes from a company called Alcoa that does aluminum manufacturing. And I am a cosmic visitor. I don't know anything about Alcoa in her neighborhood, but she does. And so when she learned about Flying Rainbow Lasagne, she said, Aurora, can I use that to help to clean up the pollution in my, I said, yes, use it in that way. I didn't even know that there was a problem in that area of the world. She lives there for this purpose. Everybody knows what your neighborhood needs. You don't need me to tell you, or someone else from a hierarchy at the top to tell you what you need in your neighborhood. You already know. What you need are the actual tools, like Flying Rainbow Lasagne, to be able to do the things that you already know you need to do. So that's it. And I feel like each one of us, we're supposed to be like the feelers, the sensorium of this larger benevolent being. Like when people say, where is God? Where are the angels? Where's the helpers? Where are the saviors? I really think we're supposed to be the sensorium. That is the expression of that. We're supposed to do it. So you know in your heart already, like you think you know in your heart already what you want to be doing with your life, with your time, how you want to approach your daily experience. And then there's the compromises that we usually have to make for survival. But if those compromises weren't necessary, then I'm certain that everybody would be doing the thing you need to do. Like, I need to wake up in the morning and I need to do my exercise and my yoga, and then I need to go out and help people, and then I need to eat good food. Like, you would do all the things that you need to do. And we simply have been domesticated into this diminished level of self where something makes us self-destruct. So the most healthy thing you can do in getting out of those levels of self-destruction is to say, wait, ruby slippers, like you keep saying with Dorothy, you don't need anyone else's permission or anything external to you. You already are the spaceship. You already contain these potentials. And if you say, how come it ain't happened yet? Like, if I have these potentials, how come I'm not already home? It's like that analogy of the little girl with the violin. Like, you need to learn how to utilize your instrument in order to do this effectively. So don't be too frustrated. Your magic is real. You just have to learn how to use it.
And do you think people are smart enough to get this, or enough people are smart enough to get it?
Yes. I mean, someone asked me that relatively early in my journey here as Aurora. They said, do you think people can even learn this? And I'm like, of course. Like, it never even crossed my mind that it would be something too challenging or too sophisticated. But it's like learning the guitar or the piano. It's not an overnight thing. Like, you do have to put the work into it. But I think it would be very condescending if I thought like, oh no, I'm the only person who's ever able to learn to play the piano. You just sit there and listen to me. Like, don't try it yourself. Like, no, like, this is that. You can definitely do this. but it takes effort.
And it's then probably, again, the same with the instrument. Like, how bad do you want it?
Yes.
You know, like how bad, or like in my case, how much in pain am I? How much is that? How high is the pain pressure to make me learn the instrument?
Yeah. Because you're like a baby going through the birth canal and your head is being squeezed and you're like, I got to do something because you're under huge amounts of pressure. And this is like how you get born.
So is this maybe even a good thing that the situation is heating up, so people are more pressured into,
I would say
get their stuff in order?
It's the best interpretation. Like, it's actually a crappy situation. Like, it's kind of nice if your mom like has a home birth with a jacuzzi and the bathtub and nice aromatherapy. Like, that's ideal. That's what we all want. But what we're having instead is like a birth under duress, where we didn't even make it to the hospital and like the mom is giving birth in the car. Like, that's what our life is like right now. So it's actually, I don't think it's ideal. And it might be the motivation for us to like I say, get this done, like get in the, we need to be on schedule. We need to do this now. Like when you ask me about like, looking down the road 5-10 years or whatever, if you're waiting 5 or 10 years to do your spiritual development, you're already going to be stuck in some kind of Agenda 21, Agenda 30, smart city, locked down. Like what the agenda is for these former controllers of society is to take away all of your personal rights as an individual so that you don't have like your own little heater that you can turn on in your house. Your heater is connected to a big giant government server that tells you how many units of heat you're allowed to have and makes you pay for them. Like, you're not allowed to just build a campfire and be warm. That is how profound the levels of control they want. You can't grow your own food. You have to get your food from them. It's like Soylent Green. It's like any horrible science fiction story. And you think, oh no, I would live in the country and get eggs. No, you wouldn't. You're not allowed to live in the country. You're not allowed to have combustion vehicles. You're not allowed to get any place without an electric car. Like, we're talking about total lockdown society. That's what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. So if you're sitting around waiting and saying, I'll do my spiritual development after the kids graduate from college, like, you're not going to have a chance. It's now or never. Like, it really is that level of profound urgency.
Yeah, exactly. And people like in control, the elites, like the shit people at the top, they really use every story, every lie as an excuse to make this control structure happening. And then they come up with fancy ways how to sell this. And the scary thing is that it works on so many people, like the climate change. Now they're instrumentalizing the kids. So we have to save the climate. Well, Jessica, you cannot save the climate. That's just nonsense. And we got to stop climate change. No, you cannot stop climate change. This is like, we got to stop the water from being wet. It's just complete nonsense. And there's thousands and thousands of scientists who prove that this whole man-made climate change is just complete bullshit. There is zero proof. And they just use it as a story to sell you. You're not allowed to breathe. You're not allowed to drive a car. You're not allowed to move. You're not allowed to make any decisions because you're so irresponsible. And the scary thing for me is that people don't see through bullshit. And there are actually people in Germany who say they're convinced of this. I'm not getting a child because it produces too much CO2.
Yeah.
Give me a break. What do you say to this?
I know it's the ultimate self-destruction. Like, if you choose to no longer procreate, you're basically saying, like, I don't want my species to continue. And that is a heavy globalist program. Like, when I say globalist, I'm talking about these elite, the beings that have this agenda for depopulation. So they'll make people feel so guilty about their use of resources. Like, you're not allowed to eat cows. You're using too many resources. You're not allowed to heat your house or, use your car. You're being too polluting. Meanwhile, it is like, corporate infrastructure is where we're getting most of the pollution from. It's not just from you and your little car. So it's used as an excuse for carbon tax, and it's also used as an excuse for diminished personal freedom. Like, in some areas of Canada, they are making it illegal for you to have a wood stove or a pellet stove for environmental purposes, of course, but a lot of people in that area of the world heat with wood. It's worked for them for generations, for a long time, and you're independent. Like, you buy forest wood from the guy down the street, you don't have to care about what the local gas company is selling or whether they will send it to your tank or anything like that. Like, you're independent. So that is what the control structure hates. They don't like the idea that you can just get wood from your neighbor and heat your house effectively. So all of this is meant to keep humans in a domesticated and degraded state. And a lot of the people that I know who were more like off-grid livers, they lived in Northern California, the fires, I won't even call them forest fires, the intentionally set fires that went through that area burned a lot of those people out of their homes, and they will not be able to rebuild. So it's part of the agenda is getting people who are self-reliant out of their rural homes and forcing them to live in these little smart cities, quote unquote, that are not very smart at all, and just live in a 5G frying frequency soup all the time and have zero freedom. And that is hell. Like, that is hell. Don't be on those timelines, guys. You don't have to. And even this conversation, because we are, linking together in this conversation, I'm giving you new ideas. There's possibilities. There's new ideas. You don't have to be in those levels of reality. Make a new note, make a new melody, do something different.
But the scary thing for me is to see that how easy it is to convince those people on a massive,
I think it's good.
On a massive way, and they just are not, for some reason, able to see this. I never understood why it is so difficult for so many people to see this. But if this goes on like this, then we will have generations, or the next generation, that is going to be used to all this indoctrination, to this bullshit. And then they don't even understand what freedom is or supposed to be, because they have never experienced it. And then they will blame me. Oh, Miniman, he's talking crazy. Well, he's having these crazy ideas about freedom. What is he talking about? Get him in a nut house. We don't need this crap. Look, I'm free. I have 5G.
There's a good movie that I highly recommend about that scenario. It's called The Giver, and I read the book also. The book is lovely. The movie is really good because it uses cinematically the idea of they live in a very gray world where there's no color, and this one boy is like you, who is like the awakened person in this world of all gray, no color, and then he is able to start to perceive color, and he is trying to portray that to other people who are all totally asleep from being pharmaceutical zombies. And so, like, there's plenty of fictional cautionary tales, science fiction and other dystopian fiction that are telling us, don't go down those roads, don't go down those pathways, live a more authentic life that is about, maintaining your naturalness, your humanness, your real emotions. There are a lot of people who take numbing agents like alcohol or pharmaceuticals so that they feel less. They feel less human. They feel less of what they are. I think we need to do the opposite. We need to be more sensitive and more caring and more here as people, and not dumb ourselves down or be anesthetized in order to live in a horrible world. And no, we're not supposed to live in a horrible world. We're supposed to live in a heavenly world. Like, if we're going to wrap this up in a good way, let's not talk about the world is supposed to be beautiful, but it's been turned into a hell. We're here, I think, as part of our life purpose to make it heavenly again. That is why I am here as Aurora. I'm definitely not here as a pleasure cruise. I'm here on a very particular mission. And my mission is not just about for me to be more comfortable, to have I want to have a golden house. I want to have more money. It's not just about that. It is about restructuring this whole entire everything that's going on and going wrong. So that's why it's taking so long. It's not just an instant magic wand type of fix. It's the type of fix that it takes many, many people. You asked me also, are there enough people? Yes, there are enough. There would be enough even if there was 5 people that were able to understand and embody the flying rainbow lasagna. It doesn't have to be that many. And I know that there are hundreds, maybe thousands of people that are doing this at this point. So there's definitely enough of us here. And the music that we're making is definitely loud enough to be able to affect reality. And then the more people that join the lasagna band, the louder the music gets, the better it gets, the more profound it gets, and the more fun it gets. And what I predict is that the other music that we hear that's horrible, you want to put your fingers in your ears, our music gets so loud that it drowns that out. So that's all the crap realities that we don't want to experience. And also the crap approaches, this whole commodification approach and quid pro quo, that begins to be drowned out by a more natural collaboration and sharing approach of, the natural humans, how humans actually treat each other when we're not in survival mode all the time because we're domesticated.
Beautiful. And let's wrap this up with we talked a lot about a lot of stuff, many, and it's beautiful. And I think this was a stellar interstellar session.
Yes, I agree completely.
And let's end on a high note and on a very, very simple thing. What is the one thing that you would like every person that is listening or watching to this to do or to understand or to change?
Thank you for asking me that. I'm not a religious person. And so when I say this, I don't want you to hear it through a religious filter, but it's that this culmination, like the greatest level of thought that you can think when you're in a body is to think the thought, I am God. That is like the mountain. We're climbing a mountain. We're getting to the top of this mountain. When you get to the mountain peak, that is the experience that you have. And it's like, for me, it's for you, it's for everyone who's alive, for every tree, every microbe gets to have that top of the mountain peak experience where they think, I am God. And that is the most magical occurrence when it happens. And the more people and experience, the organisms that have that experience, the louder. It's like a profound symphony, like the opposite of a big bang that is like a perfect create. It's a miracle when that happens. And God is real. Like God is a very real thing, not like a religious construct. It's a very real, miraculous thing.
Wow, this is glad I asked. Like, what is God?
So I would say that God is this place on this sculpture, this central convergence point, a place in the structure of time where all time flows through that point, like everything converges there. It's the presence of everything. It's all possibilities. It's all consciousness. It's everythingness. And it all magically is able to overlap on this, like the tiniest little dot in existence. And it's everything. It's unity consciousness. It's the house that everything lives in. And I would say it's where we emanated from in order to have the experience of individuation and to be in a body and to be where we are right now. And it's also the destination. Like we make a perfect circuit, like a circle. We come from there, we come into reality, and then we travel back to there, and we travel back with all these wonderful stories. So I think that God is like that action of traveling, of like going out and coming back and going out and coming back, and the point of overlap where all of these multiple experiences come together and converge, that it's like a mosaic viewpoint where we all recognize that we are God.
So is that the top and the bottom point of the lasagna?
I love you. You totally understand this. You've made a huge lasagna breakthrough. You did it, man. That's what it is. That central convergence point starts jumping up and down. And so then we have God up here and God over here. And there's different qualities when you're over here and when you're over here. Like my viewpoint from this eye is a little bit different from my viewpoint from this eye, but it's still my viewpoint. So this is energy, this is entropy. The dot jumps and oscillates between these 2 points. They're complementary. They cause the inside and the outside to communicate. This is what the class is all about, but you just made the major breakthrough, which is basically if you internalize the truth that God or the singularity is inside of you and also inside of something else. Like here's this point inside of me, here's God inside of the sun. And I'm going to jump back and forth between the source that is inside of me, the source that is in the sun, or between me and MINIMAN, or between me and my dog, or between me and the planet or a tree. So you make this jumping back and forth. That is what makes this shape. And that also brings those 2 points together. Like there's no distinction. When you get to that level of consciousness, there is no distinction between self and context. So then it's not like you're a person in the world. You are the world. You said it, MINIMAN. You said you are the ship. You are the ship. You don't have to get on a ship and get out of here. You are the ship. So it's the embodiment. You become the embodiment of this higher dimensional reality. And that's actually a lot more difficult than getting on board a ship. You have to transform on a profound level and learn new things in order to do this. But it's also something that no one can take away from you. Like once you learn a song, like you've internalized and learned the song, like you can't undo that. So it's very, very powerful in terms of personal empowerment to do this.
Excellent. I am God. Let's everybody exercise this and make it a habit. You can say that every day, everywhere, regardless of the circumstances. To get into it. Please.
I want to say it's like you are on the mountain, you're climbing towards that mountain peak. So like you can say like, I'm moving towards that. I'm getting towards that realization. Like it might be challenging. It might take a long time to have that moment of realization, but it is inevitable is what I'm trying to say. Like keep trudging, keep climbing. You will get there to that realization. And then when you have the realization, it's not like you stop being in existence. You continue to be in existence, but then you exist from a different perspective, from the perspective of being all of these beings that are in existence. Then you have a very different motivation. Like, I don't want that guy to starve. I am that guy. I don't want that guy to get in a car accident. I am that guy. It becomes, you have a different level of motivation moving through the world.
Exactly. And that solves all the problems there are, because you're not going to get any soldiers signing up for any war. It's not going to happen.
Completely. Exactly.
You will not find people who will do this.
That's right. I think most of these soldiers are signing up so that they can get an education, not even because they want to have to be endangered or shoot other people. I think that, like, whatever, in the United States, a lot of people do it for the educational scholarships, not even because they want to go and shoot people. So we got to be able to have people have better opportunities for scholarships that involve potential violence and amputations.
Educating yourself and killing people should be two separate things.
I completely agree. And that seems like basic common sense.
Yes.
I think everyone should put me and MINIMAN in charge of organizing planetary structure. We are very sensible. We will do a good job.
Let's call the president, let's call the Pentagon, the pentagram, and say we have a solution for this alien invasion. What do you got? Oh, we got the flying rainbow lasagna. Well, get her in charge. Let's call the president, right?
I love it. Please do so. I really would love to help directly. Like I'm, here as like, I do stuff on YouTube. Like I would love to help more directly if I can. So please call me.
I don't have any connections, but Pentagon, Trump, if you're watching,
I love it.
Give Aurora a call.
I love it. We're sending out the call.
Aurora, this has been absolutely interstellar.
Same thing here. Same thing here. I'm so happy that you invited me to talk with you.
I'm so happy that you shared all this wisdom and this knowledge and this incredible information. And
of course, thank you. And thank you for being so receptive to it too, because that is a big part of it. Like I have a lot of information and then you can tell I'm just super excited to jam with other musicians. I just want to share it. So thank you for being so receptive and helping me to reach the people that you're connected to and, share my music more widely.
Absolutely. And the people who are still listening, congratulations for making it through this long, interesting journey. And please go check Aurora out at flyingrainbowlasagne.com. You can also find her on Teachable. It's lessons for full spectrum humans.
You got it.
And there's also a Patreon opportunity to support Flying Rainbow Lasagne and be part of the next semester through Patreon. And the next semester is about to start in
about a week.
In about a week. So the spaceship is getting ready. I mean, you get your own spaceship ready.
That's right.
That's how this is going down. And it's going down now. So everybody get on board, get on your own spaceship on board. And let's show you, let's end with the quote from the Matrix, a little bit simpler. I didn't came here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how this is beginning. And I'm going to end this podcast and show you a world where everything is possible. Thank you so much.
Really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, MINIMAN.
Thank you so much, Aurora. Thank you so much for listening to the MINIMAN Show. This was an amazing conversation with Aurora. So much information, so information dense. You might want to listen to that again. Please also check out my art at minimanart.com. And until next time, it's always nice to have your company on the MINIMAN Show. I'm MINIMAN. Grow what I trying.